Well, that's most interesting, isn't it? Some wartime magazines. A very interesting magazine, that. Very interesting. It's the Australasian Radio World. Australasian Radio World, and you can get all the copies, or most of them, from about 1936 to 1951 on American radio history, which has got a lot of American radio history, but an awful lot of Australian and British and South American history as well in radio. So there we are. All very good. Now I noticed Mr. VK3BEK is on the line, and we'll attempt to call him in now. Just hope it's working okay. And I can click up the talkie thing there. And if I wind this up here, I'll just make sure. No, okay. So if Mr. VK3BEK is on the line.
Yes, can you hear me now?
I can hear you very well.
Oh, excellent. So the talkie's working.
Yeah, it's working. It's working exceptionally well. And yeah, that's good. Just hang on, I'll just sort things out here a bit. And I click on that. And it's good that you got back. Did you enjoy a little party?
Yes, it was quite good. I don't know, it was a family party, family, friends, I don't know, I think 52nd or something, and they had a Argentinian barbecue, so that was
Argentinian barbecue, what's all to the good? What do they eat there?
Oh, just huge amounts of meat.
Oh, lots of meat.
Just wall-to-wall meat. It's not very vegetarian friendly, unfortunately. Not that I'm a vegetarian, but you know, that seems to be the thing that a lot of people are doing these days.
Yes, that's right. Now, record-o-matic, there we are. I think we got on the line, just make sure that's we're recording this for Postil. 1, 2, 3. Oh yes. Testing. Good. Okay, well I don't think I don't know if many other people are going to be on tonight, because Steve's busy or something.
Yes.
And I think Frank's busy. Although we do have 145 megs open and 145.3 and also 437.8 if I click these things on here, and we'll push that on there too so I can keep an eye on the things. Oh, now I have to say, you know, you put the a little link to that 3LO thing.
Yes.
It had a massive spike.
Yes, I think I was tracking that through the week. I think it quadrupled.
It certainly did. From its meager numbers, it went right up. So thanks for that.
Oh, no worries. I'm now the mission's promotional department, it seems. I'm the social media coordinator at the well, who knows?
Well, you are, and I think Mr. Dan the Man's also doing a bit of that as well, which is good. So
yes.
He's put a few things up, or 1 or 2 things up, I think. So yeah, that's really good. So it just shows it just needs a little bit of publicity, and it can go a long way.
Yeah, it's all about what Facebook groups you share it with. So I shared that link with the Australian Radio Facebook group, and there are a surprising number of people who follow that. And then I think 3 other people shared it, and some people who used to work 3LO as well. Yeah. I didn't really track who was sharing it around, but yeah, you just got to find the right groups, I think. It seems like the mission's Facebook page has also been getting a bit of attention too.
It has 39 people. It went from, it's gone up, hasn't it, from its original 20 whatever. And
yeah, I think that we had about 15 people liking it, and now it's gone up beyond that. It's gone up to 46.
That's amazing. Some have got 46,000, of course, but still 46 is good. And we say a very good evening to Noel. And
yes, hello, Noel.
He's on the line.
Hello.
Waving, yes, g'day. Yeah, so anyway, that's good. Well, look, maybe there's other 3LO stuff you could, you don't want to swamp them, but, you know, every now and then you could stick another 3LO thing in. And I'm surprised because, you know, it's quite interesting footage, and just people don't know about it. I think that's the problem.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I find it quite interesting watching that. I mean, I don't know many of the people in the videos. My knowledge of that sort of radio history is not great. But,
the guy with the beard
yes.
is Bill Ackfield.
Yes, I knew him.
Yeah.
None of the others.
The guy talking to Bill Ackfield, a taller guy, that was Michael Cole, and the guy, little sort of Richard Coombe. How do I explain? Well, he's the other, a bit younger than the rest. He's talking there for a bit about things. So that's the famous Richard Coombe, who unfortunately died of AIDS, and Knowles disappeared.
He died in the 90s, I think.
He did, yes, unfortunately.
It's quite sad.
So yes, I used to work with all of those people.
I've been trying to decode the nicknames because I've listened to a lot of those old crossbands with you and the old Beck.
Oh yes.
I have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. So what name would you like declassified?
Oh yes. Well, these things can be unredacted now, or some of them, I guess.
They can be.
Who was the cheese?
The cheese. I think the cheese was. I think that was Richard Coombe.
Right.
I think it was. Yes. I don't
know how I got that. I think that there might be a mention to him somewhere, so I vaguely had that one. Who was the mushroom?
The mushroom was Mary Adams, because she had red hair.
And the Mars bar?
Mars bar was Tom Marsden. He was a studio supervisor, and he worked. He did the Queen's broadcast. That was his big claim to fame, and he had this impeccable, English type announcing voice. And I've only got a little bit of Mr. Mars bar, but he was just a very essential announcing style voice. And he used to sit in this office, and he'd listen to. He'd have 3 speakers going, 3 type 3 speakers, and he'd listen to all the networks. And if someone made a mistake, either announcing mistake or operational error, he'd walk in to your booth with a pink slip, and he'd sign the thing, loss of program, misprogram, wrong timing or whatever, and you'd have to sign it, and you get bad marks, and you don't get your brownie points for that year.
Oh no.
Yes.
You didn't hang them up on your wall, or did you ever get any?
Yes, I got. Well, of course I got some. That thing with Kennedy, I got one there, I think.
Oh wow!
I should have kept them, I suppose.
I hope that you framed that.
I'll tell you what I did find, or what someone found for me. That the personal files were just, when they moved out of somewhere, were just lying on the floor, piles of personal files. And someone picked up all of my personal cards and handed them in to me. And but they don't mention any of that stuff. It's just pay rates and promotions and holiday leave.
None of the juicy goss.
No, I was really interested in listening to the juicy goss of how bad I was, but it never came out.
Mm.
So I must admit, when I left, and I had a little a big party for me to leave. I think the afternoon tea, they had made a special cup of tea and whatever. Anyway, they did have, and the boss, he said, yes, I didn't know all this stuff. He said, yeah, my kids listen to you on the old radio outside, and and rubbishing the ABC all the time. No wonder you haven't got as far as I thought you might get. I thought, oh, gee, these people do listen.
Oh dear.
Yes.
Yeah, no, they that just reminds me. Do you still have any of the Sorry, I'm going into missions history there. But do you still have any of the Deanigrams?
I do. Yes, I do have the Deanigrams. Yes. Yeah, I have got a few Deanigrams. They're faded. They all fade. Those old telegram things.
Yeah, so they're just on that sort of loose, because when I think of that in my mind, I'm sort of post-telegram era I just think of like library index cards with typewriter print on them, but no, they'd be like those, like yellow flimsy paper, wouldn't they?
The yellow flimsy paper, and the problem is that the way they printed them, all the ones I've got, the actual message is almost totally faded. You've got to hold it up to the light and shine a lead torch on it with ultraviolet or something to see what the Deanie had to say.
Yes, well, I think that it's unfortunate. Bob Deeney made an inferior product and can't be enjoyed for generations to come. Can't be displayed in a gallery of missions history. How unfortunate.
Noel keeps coming on and off, but not to worry. It's I've got the summons and all that stuff, and a few other things. So it's interesting, isn't it, that all this history. Now it's so it's good the stream's back on. I'll tell you what, after it was off for a while, it's come back. It's probably just you, but there seems to be a lot of listeners. It seems to have quite a few hits, something like 3 or 4 people on sometimes. So it seems to have extra, and some people listening to the other, networks as well.
Well, I do occasionally post a link to the one of the streams on the Facebook page.
Oh, right.
But so I don't know, maybe people get notified by that, maybe 1 or 2 people. But I have been listening to it in the car.
Yep.
It's incredibly useful if you've got a phone with a fair amount of data on it. You can just stream it. I mean, I think listening for a couple of hours, it's maybe a couple of 100 megs, but when you're on 10 gigabytes, that's reasonable. So, yes.
Yeah, it's not bad. Look, you can use your phone like a portable radio and listen to all that stuff. You could be listening to this, or you can listen to the stream. And yeah, like I think my plan, I've got 15 gigs. And when I was away, I was careful using it and stuff. But I can stream YouTube, listen to music for hours. It's only a month. I mean, it's 15 gigs a month, and this month I used 3 gigs. I mean, I could listen to a lot more, and it wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, me too. I had exactly the same thing, 3 gigs. I was looking at all these YouTube videos and listening to all these mission streams, and I thought, I'm going to go overboard. But no, it's only about 3 gigs. It's a lot less data than I thought it was. Yeah. Because I was only on half a gig for the longest time, until maybe just a couple of months ago. I was only on half a gigabyte, and yes...
10 gigs you should, unless you go overboard, I think it would be more than adequate, particularly for audio. That broadwave's very economical.
Yeah, it is. I mean, 100 megs for a couple of hours, it's quite good.
Yeah. And it's the way to listen.
Yeah, it works very well. I was just going to say with the missions page, I was for a while not uploading, but posting links to individual recordings. Yeah. I like posting links to the YouTube ones that you've put up because they come up with a picture as well, and when they've got a picture, it's more enticing for people to click on. But yeah,
look, it's all to do with that. Now, when I started putting the crossband on YouTube, it got no hits, like pathetic values. I'll have to have a look now. I don't know. And I just thought this project, putting all the crossbands on YouTube, I'd get super hits, and I got far less than just on the normal files, and I stopped doing it. But if what you say is true, and with the boosting from your Facebook page, it might be worth putting more up.
Yeah, well, it's quite useful to have with a YouTube, with a Facebook in particular, just because it's almost integrated.
Yeah.
But with the, I don't know if it has actually affected your views at all.
Well, I can have a look.
But I find I was writing up a little commentary based on each one, so each post has a bit of my review of the missions. Is it what's discussed? But then I sort of I can't remember what's in this one. But you've got stuff on the YouTube uploaded on your website, which I think one of the big appeals of the stuff on the YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's right. I'll just silly crossbands. Silly crossbands. I'll see if the ratings have come up since last time. Look, 7 views, 13, 20 views, 40, 10, 12, 45 views. Chadson Pryor, that's big. 12 views, 27. I'd say they've gone up 47 views. I'd say they've gone up marginally.
Yeah, you probably got maybe 2 or 3 extra views out of the post.
Yes.
I don't know how most people would listen. I mean, when I started sort of listening, I think I spent an hour at uni just downloading everything off your website, and then put it on a USB drive and listened to it continuously in the car for a couple of months. So that's how I listened to all of the old missions. But on YouTube, it is difficult if you want to listen to them, say, on a device, unless you've got the YouTube Red thing, because then you've got to keep the phone open, and you get ads. But the last one that I posted was the Adelaide Visions.
With a nice picture of a TV set.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. It's quite a good. Where'd that picture come from?
It came from Woomera, I think.
Woomera?
Something from Woomera.
Oh, wow. That's exotic.
They're fantastic stuff there. What it was, I went to the Woomera Museum. And there's a new museum, well, there used to be a new museum all ritzy, and an old museum just full of dust, a whole shed full of dusty equipment, and that's the best one to go to. And they had a book there with photographs of it in its glory days, and I think I just took photographs out of the book, to photograph them. But I must admit, the crossbands with the evocative pictures, it makes it much more likely people will click. Well, they don't, but like Sick Buyer, it's got a picture of the Buyer Motel sign. Isn't that good? It's got 16 views 2 years ago. That's amazing.
Views. Oh, very good. I mean, it is a good way to get the photos out there. I guess it's the difficulty of editing photos into an HTML stream with your website, but it is very good. When you showed me some of the photos that you've got, it just gives so much to the history. I mean, I like the one, the silly crossbands, the GX Medical Intern.
Ah, yes.
Caption where I think you're at a sewage farm.
That's right.
Missions. That's what it looks like, and I can see. I'm just trying to think. I'm just trying to unage everyone and determine who's who. I think that's you sitting down. Am I wrong? The one I'm talking about?
I'm just trying to find it. It's GX Medical. Where are we? It's trying to find. Oh, here we. Yeah, I'm sitting down in the chair. That's me. Mr. Marks is in the yellow.
Recognised him.
Yeah. Now the guy standing up in the distance is the K, I think.
Oh, okay.
And the guy kneeling down behind the speaker and the thing, that's the Tynes, I think.
Right.
Yeah, so that's who those people are.
Yeah, and that's setting up for a
big...
yeah.
Sewage farm missions.
And is that the Panda Cub transmitter?
That's the Panda Cub transmitter owned by Mr. Marks.
Yes, I think Mr. Marks has put it on his website at one point. He put some photos of it. It was quite good.
That's right.
The schematic of that appears in the old Murek magazine.
That's right. And the one next to it has got Crummy Sisters, and it's got a pensive look of the branch in his booth. But of course, that's only got 5 views. I don't know why those don't get more views. I mean, it's amazing.
It's a bit weird. I mean, there is a link to it on your page, I think.
It is, yeah. Maybe it should be promoted more. But I thought when I'd started to see the files, the things on the website, they get a massive, like there's gigabits a week get out of that site, and tons of stuff, but not so much nowhere near as much on the YouTube, which I thought would have been the way to do it. Maybe the people who listen are more nerdy and prefer to listen on a file or something, I don't know, or maybe they...
Yeah, the retro Web 1.0 look, which I have to say I actually much prefer to the Web 2.0 stuff, because it's easier to navigate, and it's lightning fast. I mean, you're not trying to load this big WordPress blog where each crossband is an individual post. I've seen people do that sort of thing, and you have to go. It's basically scrolling through or searching. But I do like the HTML, because even on my old Pentium, I've loaded up your website on an old Pentium 166, and it loads immediately. It's great.
Yeah, that's the whole idea. And also, I'm very lazy. I don't want to have to write code and put in links and stuff. I just want to put it all down there. And it's something different. Yeah, look, if I had to write a little description and a link to everything, it takes a lot of time.
Yeah, it does.
I've done it to a few of the old-time radio things, but if there's more than a few, I just think it's just stick the whole lot as the file directory, and people can make of it what they like.
Well, yeah, that's quite it's quite interesting navigating your unsorted directory, because some of the titles you sort of I do like clicking something random and then having a listen, and sometimes it's quite interesting. It's like hearing there's one recording, I think it might have been one of the Ivor Morgan disc recordings, and it's got a spoken ident by the branch at the start.
All right.
I think that's what I'm thinking of. That was a nice surprise. Just on the YouTube things, did you see the comment that I put on the original Henry tapes? That's got a few views. 12 views in the past couple of months.
Yeah, that's right. That's amazing. 12 views. I think it's Henry, isn't it, Ken? We were just mad on that. Used to play Henry day and night. Look at him standing there with the meters, which Miss Steve's got that meters at home.
Yes.
It came from,
yes.
somehow got to Tasmania and got shipped back.
Oh, that's quite incredible. Now, I've actually got and I don't know, Steve probably isn't and probably won't listen to this, but or maybe he will be, but I have an accessory for that particular meters for Steve. So next time I see Steve, I will need to give it to him. Yes, it's a bit of a surprise, and yes, might make it give it the authentic VK3EN experience. I've dug something out of the history books, so. Yes.
Well, that's amazing. A VK3EN.
Yes, a bit of Henry memorabilia. Yes, but on the actual video, YouTube has this useful feature where if you type times in the form of minutes and seconds, they will appear as links in the comments. So I spent about half an hour listening to that Henry recording and finding where all... Because I didn't realise it was divided into sections.
Oh, yes, it is. It's off a CD. I made a proper CD that I gave to people. Yeah. How's that? See, we used to... when we were schoolboys, we used to make copy... Like, we just spent our time, me and Mr. Oldbeck, listening to Henry and giving... Well, someone was giving him things. And I think at the end of that, we made up these mixed tapes of Henry, and they're all badly edited from cassette to reel or whatever, 2 cassette players, and I think it's Henry, isn't it, Ken? I think it's Henry, isn't it, Ken? And all this stuff. We used to make these things, we're killing ourselves laughing, listening to them, and yes. So it's all there.
Yeah, it's quite impressive. I didn't notice that. You've got the Stu remix and the Beck remix.
That's right.
You were before your time creating these mashups.
We were, weren't we? Mm.
You anticipated the whole sampling culture that went on at the end of the 80s back in the mid 70s. So
that's right.
You should have released an album of avant-garde Henry edits. It would have been quite good.
Well, maybe we still can. Well, it is. Well, it's released now.
That's right. We need to get someone like Mr. Wilkes to produce a dance track and just sample Henry. Mm. And play some Henry in the... Oh, that's a bit morbid. But he can live again as a dance floor classic.
He's never really died, because the Henry tapes, they've been online since you could put audio online, basically. And he must have had millions of hits. I don't know how many, maybe not millions, but a lot. A lot of people in the world have heard Henry. Bill Gates heard Henry. And I was...
What?
Yes. I was at a function, and Bill Gates came in to talk. And we had a laptop computer, and I put Henry up at the thing, and I had Henry playing full blast out of his little 1-inch speaker as Bill Gates walked past, and he walked past me about 2 inches past, so he has heard Henry. It's probably made a difference to his decisions and what he's done by listening to this few bars of Henry playing. Yeah.
Oh, goodness me. I did not know that at all. That's incredible.
Mm. And of course he's been played to the famous talkback personalities on the air too many times.
Now, did you only do that once, or were there a couple of occasions?
There are a couple of, I think we did it a couple of times to, who was that guy, the AW guy, we did it a few times.
Kenworthy.
Kenworthy, that's right, yes. I think he remembered that. And we did it to 3DB a couple of times and a few other people, prominent talkback personalities.
Now, do you have any other recordings of that? Because I've only heard the one, he cuts it off pretty quickly, but I've been told that, in fact, Dan was telling me about a recording that he'd heard where they just couldn't get Henry out of the system.
Yeah, I'll try and find that. Yeah. Yeah, good.
It's quite amusing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like sometimes I listen to the stream if it's just to test the stream if it's working. I listen to the stream for the old time radio stuff, but a lot of that's off my unsorted files, and some interesting stuff comes up that I didn't even I've forgotten I had or got or whatever. It's quite amazing. So yeah, I was listening. I tuned in one day and. There was an old wartime, acetate of, wartime music and one of these programs, the Talk to the Boys and all sort of thing. And then after that, it was a Terry Lane program, and from 1987, talking about the future of electronic communications. Of course, they were blaming the stock market crash to all the computers linked for they did the automatic trading and stuff. And talking about fax machines, tying up the telephone lines, and people with computers talking to each other via the modems, tying up telephone lines and all sorts of stuff. And all these experts were talking about the future of communications and all the things they were talking about, like, pay TV and satellite television and all this sort of thing. They didn't talk about the elephant in the room that was going to jump into the room in about 2 years' time. They did not have a clue. And the internet was actually going then, but they didn't mention it at all. It must have been something really nerdy, and it wasn't in the mainstream mindset. So yeah, by sort of 10 years later, of course, it was well and truly going. And 1995, certainly by the early 90s, it was big.
Yeah,
and they just didn't pick it up.
Yeah, people had sort of cottoned onto it by the early 90s, but back then I think that it was pre-World Wide Web, pre the web browser.
Yes.
It was still very academic. I mean, everything, the best you could sort of hope for was either news groups or Gopher.
Yep, that was it, Gopher.
And it's funny, there's still some Gopher websites going, and I found one, and they were...
Oh, he's dropped out. The Gopher's dropped out. Maybe you'll drop back in again. Maybe.
Hello?
You're back again. Yeah, you dropped out.
I'm back again.
Gopher. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, sorry, I'm on a 1.5 megabit internet connection. It's yes, my in-laws they don't want any NBN, so yes, we're stuck with poor internet. Anyway, but yeah, they had Gopher, and that was probably faster than this internet. What else did you have? You had I think Archie, and you had FTP. Archie
and Jughead.
Yes, and Veronica as well.
Yes, all those old cartoon characters.
I remember because my mum signed up for an AOL account, and that's something that she's had the same AOL account for 20 years.
Is that right?
That's right. Now, I don't think that AOL even does internet anywhere in Australia, but they used to send out those awful free CDs. You'd get one a month or something.
That's right, yeah.
And my mum signed up for it, and that was our first internet connection back in 1999 with the with our IBM Aptiva that she'd bought from David Jones back when you bought your computers at David Jones. Probably shouldn't have done that. It was an incredibly underpowered computer. But yeah, we were online. Were we talking about this last week? The news groups?
I think we were. Yeah, the news groups, like that's what. And I remember when I think last week I told you how I went to an internet cafe to learn about internet, and I bought a book and the history of the internet, and it was all about gophers and Archie and Jughead and Veronica and all this sort of stuff, and how the internet came about, and that was in 1990 or something. So I was learning all that stuff. This is, I think, pre-World Wide Web. And and as I said, our computer wasn't when the web came, it wasn't powerful enough to process the HTML and anything. It was hopeless. It was only good for news groups.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the BOM, the Weather Bureau, they had a gopher site till I think quite recently, well into the 90s.
No, wow.
Maybe the 2000s. There was a gopher site. They'd had a gopher site for the basic weather. I liked it because it was just basic text, like a teletype, just told you the news, told you the weather and the basics. And they had a HTML one as well, but they kept the gopher site going for quite a long time. I forget, I've probably got the address somewhere in an old computer, Google Mesh something and all these things. And I used to always go to that if I wanted the weather because it was quick. And it worked, but eventually it stopped working.
Yeah, well, there's a group of people, I think, that still maintain the gopher is actually the most efficient way to get information through the internet, just because it's super fast, because it's mostly just text.
Yep.
And the way that it's organised, because it was hierarchical. You could drop down different levels to get different amounts of information, and some people, they operate like a gopher underground. There are still gopher servers somewhere on the internet, but getting into them is a bit tricky because most browsers don't support Gopher anymore. Yeah,
well, up till, say, the early 2000s they did, but I suppose now they think, why would they need to put Gopher, redundancy in them?
Oh yeah, that's right. I mean, Firefox, what version of Firefox, which is what I use, we're up to, they dropped Gopher in version 3.6, and we're now up to version 68, so there you go.
Yeah, gee. Yeah, it's interesting. Like I remember once meeting Mr. K came around. He said he was working at Monash. Oh, we've installed a Gopher server, and I thought, oh, that's good. I thought, what the hell's a Gopher server? So I strung him along to find out what a Gopher server was. So I didn't sound so lacking in knowledge.
Now that reminds me, Monash. Do you have this is slightly off topic, do you have a 15 amp outlet at your location?
Ooh, I don't know. I haven't. Would they have the big pin on it?
Yes, they're the ones with the giant earth pin.
We haven't
plug into a regular. Okay.
We haven't. I could check. I could check our fuse box, and if anything's, there are some 20 amp fuses there, so or breakers. Say out to the garage here. Probably if you weren't running anything else, you could mock up a lead and plug it in. All it would do would pop a breaker if it was too much.
Yeah, I'm just wondering because I recently acquired a couple of. Now you use UPS systems, don't you?
Yes.
Yes. Well, I've just gotten a couple that are sort of 3 kilowatt units, and they're quite compact. And so, but they run off a 15 amp outlet. I'm not 100% sure if they work, but I suspect that they do. I just can't test them because I don't have a 15 amp outlet. But they're bloody heavy things, but very compact.
What sort of battery do they have in them?
I don't know, but I suspect it's either some advanced gel cell or because they're only like maybe 4 inches high and maybe, I don't know, 15 inches deep, and they weigh a ton, but apparently they're rated at 3 kilowatts handling capacity for probably, I don't know, 15 minutes or something. It's I'll pull up the specs. They're designed for running racks of network equipment.
Ralph gave me a couple. I've got. I'm looking at them now. 520 RM, 750. I think they're 750, watts. They're big rack mounting things. They take 2 gel cells. They run on 24 volts. And so obviously what you've got is bigger. Or more powerful.
These probably a bit more later model.
Yeah.
These are and they're incredibly over-engineered. I mean, they've got a little digital display panel in the front.
Oh, really?
Yeah. These are Liebert GXT3 units.
Right.
LIEBERT. I mean, they are available up to 10 kilowatts apparently, so quite good.
Oh,
but
certainly. You bring one around. We'll work something out.
Yeah, can try testing these things. It'd be quite good.
Now, I just go inside for a couple of minutes. Just stay on the line. I'll just put a reading on while I'm inside. So I'll be back in about 3 minutes. So please
hold the line.
Hold the line.
Experience has proved that the good work, much credit is due to those officers of the Wireless Institute of Australia in New South Wales and Victoria, who kept the flag of amateur radio in Australia fluttering through the war years. Not everybody could get into uniform. With spare time at a premium and after long hours in industry, the idea of almost empty club rooms and a scientific hobby under a gag must have been doubly depressing. But there were bright moments when unexpected visitors rolled up at meetings. NSW and Victoria kept up monthly meetings throughout, and in NSW formation of the State Emergency Network, on 28MC/S, gave added interest and plenty of administrative work. This, modelled upon WERS in USA, differed in the frequency used and this scribe QSOs. My operator has nothing on the feminine of ham gear when, in 1939, war on a vast scale came once again to an apprehensive world. The ham was among sections of the community who felt the direct impact in quick time. On the 2nd of September, 1939, a fateful red telegram from the PMG told this story. The following conditions have been imposed in relation to your experimental license issued under the Wireless Telegraphy Act and Regulations. The operation of radio transmitter authorized under experimental license must cease immediately and valves, transformers, tuning coils, operating keys, and microphones must be dismantled from equipment. Please communicate by first post to Senior Radio Inspector in your state that these instructions have been complied with. There it was, the big sign-off for Al VKs. As the war progressed and events became grim and serious, the PMG took further action which may have been necessary or not, but which certainly gave the PMG officials a deal of harassing work. IETO storage. All Australian transmitting amateurs were directed to pack their gear in containers and to have them open for inspection and then sealing by officers of the P.M.GS wireless branch. It must have been a motley collection, junk and otherwise, that went into those boxes, and undoubtedly it would have been fantastic to even consider as usable transmitting gear some of the bits asterisk and pieces that many of the gang laid reverently to rest in the sealed boxes. The boxes did not rest for long, however, for in quick time the lot were collected by PMG vehicles, BP and RR, before petrol and rubber rationing, and whisked away to some mysterious hideout. Thus it was, and meanwhile YK hams went to war, and did a splendid jot. All wars inevitably end, despite the efforts of some who would prolong them, and like its predecessors, the late but not lamented World War II crashed to an ostensible close. The hams, VKs among them, are on the way back, and with them will come large numbers of fledgling returned hams, those who met up with the fascination of radio in the services, and who now intend to be on the air with the rest of the gang. At the hub of ham affairs, a group of WIA men have meanwhile been facing up to the future for the YK-BV, drawing up, at the request of the PMG, a set of proposals for post-war operation. These proposals are a fair cross-section of opinion of all WIA state divisions and were not drawn up overnight. Close cooperation with the WIA Federal Executive and Chief Radio Inspector resulted in action and the setting in motion of the machinery to put Australian radio amateurs back on the air. First direct result is the release of the sealed boxes which have been held in custody, and the information from WIA Federal Headquarters that transmissions are to be resumed as soon as the new regulations governing licensing and operation of amateur stations are gazetted. As this W as written, the 16th of October, the regulations were in process of being drawn up. Expectations are that YKs will be on the air again by the time you are reading this in print. Meanwhile, it is understood that the future of the DX frequencies lies very much in the hands of a committee of service communications officers, who have been conferring on propagation matters. If the Australian amateur receives the REOG by the time these words hit print, the ban on amateur transmission in many allied countries, including Australia, may be off. Brief rumours are not the only things that are flying around, my brethren. Recently a few spare moments in my shack * have been put in by running over the dial of my latest acquisition, a Philips Type A163 communication receiver. The other afternoon, idly speculating on a 14MC/S band, I was startled to life to log a nice T9cc signal fading up to R7 and calling CQ, Oxter VK3, hurriedly reaching for the phone book to ring the RI to ask why Don be knocknition and justice due to him for his services in war.
Well, there we are. I think we're back again now.
Yes, I think we're back. Am I coming through still?
Yes, it's coming through very well.
Oh, very good. Yes,
Yeah.
conditions are good tonight on the talkie.
Yes, they are quite good. I tell you what, the conditions, I had a listen on the SDRs tonight. Fantastic conditions on 80 and 160 interstate in New Zealand, booming through. It's amazing.
No, very good.
Yeah, so now where were we before we were interrupted by the ban on transmitting?
I think that we were saying something about Gopher, and so that sent me down
yes.
a bit of a hole reading about early internet browsers and stuff.
Yeah, well, most people wouldn't even know about it, would they? Archie, Jughead, all this sort of stuff. So they had to all this. You couldn't really search on Gopher, could you, to the same thing?
No, it was well, you had. I think the closest thing that you could use was what was it? It was well, Jughead was pretty close, but only searched like one server at a time. So
right.
Yeah. Oh, there was sort of like if you had to use Google. Well, nowadays I think Google's the only search engine that most people use, aside from maybe Bing.
Yep.
A lot of people use that, but back in the day you had Alta Vista, you had Lycos, you had Ask Jeeves, and they were all.
Ask Jeeves, how is that? Yes. Web Wombat.
Oh, Web Wombat. I never used that one.
Yeah, I used to use them all. It's interesting, isn't it? Like, we had competition between all those different search engines. And now, Google, I remember once when I first saw Google, and that was before 1990 sometime, I think it was before 2000. And it was, as people said, it was very good. And don't be evil, but I think they've forgotten that.
Yeah, they sort of removed that from their company materials.
Now it's be evil. And of course, look, I remember the Ask Jeeves, and you had all these funny little weird search engines. A Web Spider was another one or something. And they had little graphics of a spider hanging down and Jeeves, a fat Jeeves standing there. And it's a pity they've all gone. And also the browsers, you had Netscape and all these other ones. It's a bit sad that they've all gone, isn't it? That the competition is just consolidated to almost nothing.
Oh yeah, that's right. I mean, it's the three big players, whereas before, you had Netscape and you had SeaMonkey. I think that still exists, sort of, and Firefox used to be Firebird, and before that it was Phoenix. And have you ever used a text-based web browser?
Not that I know of.
Oh, there's one. Well, there's one that a lot of people using Linux or Unix use called Lynx. That's quite bizarre because you're sort of using the web through through a DOS terminal.
Right.
It's quite a surreal experience because, I don't know, it renders web pages just into pure text, and it can be, if you know all the keyboard shortcuts, you can navigate to things very quickly. But
Right.
but yeah, that's still around. But yeah, there used to be a bit of variety, I guess, but now it's all big business. There's not such that pioneering spirit of the internet. Now it's just how can we get away with as much dodginess as we can, and get all of your personal information without and make it look like we're selling you a service. So
Yeah, this is how it is, isn't it? It's a bit sad. But I suppose it's now just it's accepted thing, and it's just it's not the same as the adventure time when it was all starting off and everything. So,
yeah. And that's the big thing with websites like yours, the Web 1.0 sites. Now, occasionally I jump into the Internet Archive and I go back to the 90s, and people used to make their own websites, and a lot of the attempts at design are quite amusing,
yeah.
but they sort of had a hint of personality.
Yep.
And then I guess that started to go out the window with things like MySpace, because everybody started making MySpace profiles.
Yes, that's
but
right.
you could still customize them to a certain extent. You could choose your backgrounds, your text, your whatever, and it would be obviously not as flexible as a GeoCities. I mean, MySpace, you could add your own HTML, but it was quite of an endeavour. But a lot of people, when I was in high school, MySpace was a big thing. And but then that sort of faded out, and then we went to Facebook, which is all... You insert your information into Facebook's template, and it just looks like Facebook. There's
everything looks like Facebook.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, see, my website, I made it in 2096 or something, or 5 or 6, and it really has just been updated. It's a mess. I just did it out of raw HTML, and it's just a total mess, and it's just too hard to fix it, and I just left it like that. So it really is. It goes back to the original thing.
Yeah, and well, I guess you could say it's not like it's an abandoned website. I mean, you still maintain it, which is...
Yeah.
I do wonder how many websites have been maintained in their original form for that amount of time.
Probably not that many.
Yeah, you've probably got quite a dubious honour of maintaining one of the longest continuous Web 1.0 websites on the net.
It'd be interesting to see if there's a rating, because that's quite interesting, isn't it? I could get an award. I may not get an award for hits, but I might get an award for the longest running badly organised website.
Oh, you've just got to keep it running for another X number of years, and yeah, it'll be eligible. There are a few quite old ones. There's one, redhill.net.au.
Oh yes.
And that's the website of a computer shop in Ballarat, and I'm just going to find out how long that's been around. But it's quite old, and it's got a history of like every Pentium that was released.
Is that right?
And they're open for 2 hours on a Tuesday if you still want to bring your computer in. But yeah, this website's been going since '97, I think. But so yours would be a couple of years older than that.
It would be, and I think my first YouTube clips are only not that long after YouTube started.
So
Because
YouTube was about 2006, wasn't it?
Yes, and I think my earliest one is because I remember reading the Green Guide in The Age when I used to get The Age. I haven't had The Age for 50 years, and they had an article on YouTube, and it said how someone said, I don't watch TV anymore, I'd get all my information from YouTube and entertainment. What sort of person? What is this? How can you do that? And I came in, and I searched for YouTube, and it came up, and I looked for a couple of videos, and they came up. I thought, that's pretty. That works. Because before that, there had been video sharing sites, but they're all junky and jerky and pain to use. And this one seemed, you just type in something and it comes up, and I thought that's pretty good. And I had a video file on my I think that the test pattern, I think the two first videos is a test pattern, and the kids playing at a beach. And I thought, I'll make a YouTube account. So it took about 30 seconds to make a YouTube account. I uploaded these videos, and it just worked. And I thought, I was astounded. I thought, these videos are up for the world to see. I'll be a billionaire. I'm going to be a big TV personality because I can just upload anything, and it's broadcast to the world. As of course, the logo then was YouTube Broadcast Yourself.
Yes.
And exactly what it was. But of course, you're broadcast. Hello, yes.
Oh, right, you're there.
Yeah.
Yes, it was, and this would have been in the days before Google had bought YouTube.
That's
when it
right.
Was its own thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember being amazed by YouTube. Of course, we could only access YouTube at my dad had a very fast internet connection, but my mum's internet connection was pretty rubbish. It was barely above dial-up, so we had this, every time I'd go and visit my dad's place, we'd have this game where we'd have it was like a YouTube jukebox where you pick a song, and then the next person would have to pick a song that had some kind of connection to the previous song, and it was amazing the fact that you could do this.
Yep.
And just get any song that you wanted on the YouTube. It was quite fun too. But yeah, I don't know. It's this was before they introduced ads as well. I mean, obviously the ads came a bit later.
I've pay the $10 a month or whatever it is. I forget about ads. Of course, ads are there. If you use another computer that's not get these ads, it's a pain in the ass. And YouTube is much better to use without ads, and it's the best $10 a month I pay. And I can just dial up any music, and it's there. Type in a song or part of a song title, it's there. It's like an instant record library that covers everything, not just pop music, but vintage Japanese music, anything, you name it, it's there, and stuff, incredible stuff. And it's just there's no point having my record collection really. It's all at your fingertips, and much quicker.
Yeah.
It's quicker to type something and get it than go in and pull out a record and put it on the turntable.
Yes, no, it's quite a bit. YouTube's quite a bit better than Spotify. I've been playing with Spotify quite a bit recently, just because my girlfriend runs it in the car, and I just got sick of whatever music they were playing. So I went in and I made a playlist. I thought I can put all of every song that I want on here, so I just made this playlist of 400 and something songs. But YouTube does have a better variety.
Is that right?
Obviously, it doesn't have that interface in quite the same way, where it's not a dedicated music player application, so I don't know, if you're trying to play songs in the car, it's not the best thing. But I don't know, I was staunchly anti-streaming for the longest time, but that was partly because I didn't have enough data to do it on, say, my mobile phone. But now I'm slowly coming towards it. I hadn't realised the convenience of being able to play any song at any point in time before. Yeah.
It's like, doesn't YouTube have a music app? I keep getting things to...
Oh, maybe they do.
They do.
They've got YouTube Music, don't they?
Yeah, and it's probably like a Spotify thing. I've never bothered using it because I find the interface with the pictures and the music and the turntable turning and the record playing nice. I don't know why. I suppose unless it's lower bandwidth if you're doing it on the streaming thing, but I haven't investigated it. I just think it's amazing. I mean, tell me, think of a weird song and I'll say how long it takes me to get it.
Oh, on YouTube?
Yes.
Oh, let's you put me on the spot here. Let's think. What's something really obscure and strange? I don't know. My Friend the Chocolate Cake by Yaya Corral. Not the band, but the song that the band was named after.
Oh, okay.
That I get the feeling that might have been put up recently. And the band is Ya Ya Y-A-Y-A Choral, Choral.
Okay, can you just give that to me again? The name of the band?
Oh, it's Ya Choral.
Y.
Y-A.
Oh, hang on.
Y-A.
Y.
Y-A.
Y.
This is quite amusing.
How many YAs?
2.
Yeah.
And choral, as in choral music. The music that the C-H-O.
Okay.
R-A-L.
Okay, let's see if it comes up. And let's see. No, there's a My Friend the Chocolate Cake. Yeah, Corral. Maybe I could. It should come up, you'd think, if it's there.
Yeah, a lot of the problem is getting a lot of stuff that was, I guess, locally released on vinyl hasn't been uploaded yet.
Yeah.
A lot of Australian stuff is not on YouTube, and
Right.
that's sort of where I sort of go. But there are a lot of US bands have, uploaded a vinyl to
I've got.
YouTube.
There's one song by them, Waiting Time. That's the only one that's come up.
That's probably the only thing that came up, because I don't think that they sort of existed past the end of the 80s.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
isn't that interesting? Well, anyway, you can get
I mean-
things there.
And came up actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, quite good.
Yeah. I'll just try that there, and look, you won't get it. I just changed the typing a bit, and here we go, and it's there.
Oh, very good. So have I disappeared? Sorry,
No.
every time I load up YouTube Talk, he seems to get a bit upset.
No, you're still there. I divided ya and Corolla as different words, and it came up.
Oh, right.
So that's the famous song.
Yeah, that's what gave the band their name, My Friend the Chocolate Cake.
Really?
Best band name ever, I think.
Well, see, everything's on YouTube. It is amazing. Like, it's only 96 or 5 or something. It started 2006 or 5 or something like that. It's now we just accept it. It doesn't take long to totally change the world, does it?
Yeah, that's right. I'm a bit concerned by how much information some of these services have on me, because take Gmail for instance. Do you have a Gmail account?
I think I do.
Because I had.
Oh, you've dropped out there.
Hello.
Yes, you're back again.
Yes, I had one of the first Gmail accounts when they were invite only.
Oh, really?
Amazingly, one of my friends got an invite to make a Gmail account, and then he sent one to me. So I've had this Gmail account since 2004, and
Right.
But I realised that my entire life for 15 years is logged by Google. It's got all of my my paperwork for my cars, for my bank accounts, for my phone bills, my rental papers. I really need to get an email. It'd be nice if I had an email server that I could just completely personally administer, and that I was entirely responsible for. But then you have a problem if the server goes down, if somebody pulls out the power at your house or something. Yeah, then you don't get any email, and it's amazing that all my bills come through the email now. It's a bit scary how Google is like the grand arbiter of my life.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. It's a bit sad. I got a text from our correspondent that the radar's bad. I'll just check it on 80 metres and see how the radar is there. It was okay, very good earlier on the night, but I suppose they've got to start bugging. I suppose Mr. Kim has to do something. We'll try it from New South Wales, see if it's what it's like there. And it could be buzzing. I'm not going to move at this stage. It's too late to move. And we'll see what the buzzing's like. And And let's see, what do we do? It's this one here, isn't it? I'll type in 3670. 3670, bang. Right. Ah, yes, I hear the radar. Well, that's a bit sad, really. It's stuffing things up a bit.
How frustrating.
Yeah, we're losing our ratings.
Yeah, people are just tuning out.
I'll see where it goes to. Okay. I could move down to 3.6 somewhere. Maybe I could do that. I can. I haven't turned the. I have to put the VFO to. We'll drift around, but it doesn't matter, does it? Doesn't matter. So I could move up to. Let's see. It goes up to 370. Oh. Our band goes up to 370, 370, doesn't it?
I don't remember. I should know this.
You should know that. There's the beacon. Yeah, that's the top of the band. I can move up to there. So what I'll do, I'll move up to 3. There's a lot of radar there. It goes right bottom of the band. But if I move up, my sidebands, will they go out past? Maybe they will. Who cares? It's only I'm interfering with radar. What the F? Who cares? I mean, really. Okay. Anyone practicing the Morse beacon might lose out a bit, but what I'll do, I'll have to go and turn the VFO on. So what? I'll just stand on by. Well, I could put a reading on, or do you want to do a reading while I'm out or something?
Oh, I can ramble on about various things if you like.
Stand on by, and I'll let you do that for a few minutes.
Yes. So yes, you're now hearing from Mr. I should use my full title, Dr. VK3BEK, who is taken control of the Suze meters while he's gone to do something else. I don't know. Via a remote link. Hopefully the talkie won't drop out and then suddenly we're left with dead air. I really should be monitoring the transmission. I wonder if I can pull up the SDR. Trouble with me pulling up the SDR is that I'm only on a 1.5 megabit connection, so that might cause the talkie to drop out, but if that happens, I'll be able to see it on the display. So now on the I can hear myself. Yep, that's never a good thing, hearing yourself back whilst you're talking, or else you can't talk properly. I can't talk properly now anyway because I don't know, I've been up all day. So what have Mr. VK3BEK been doing? Oh, by the way, this is VK3BEK being relayed by VK3ASE on a crossband contact. Today I fixed my car. Attempted to fix my car. I installed a fuel filter. Fuel filter's quite easy to fix if you drive a Ford Laser from 1991, so it's actually slightly older than me. I've got bits of an FM 92 stuck in that car that's supposed to be my mobile radio service for 2 meters. Haven't gotten that working, unfortunately. I need to actually invest in tools to crimp BNC connectors on. Yes, which I haven't done because I'm a cheapskate. Anyway, so let's see, what else? Some good content to win some ratings tonight on... okay, I'm not responsible anymore, I'm happy now.
Now the radar's just gone off. That's good. I was going to go to 3690, but it's disappeared. The radar's gone, and it's a clear channel, I think. I think Mr. Kim must have been listening.
Yes, I think that he realised that he was upsetting the missions and decided to back off a bit.
That's right. Isn't it amazing? So we've got a direct line to Mr. Kim in North Korea.
That's right.
So the radar's gone off. I'm glad I didn't go fiddle and change it all. So, yeah. Now, what were we talking about before we were rudely interrupted by the radar?
I've I've forgotten actually.
Old YouTube. Oh, that's right. I was going to go back and see how old my oldest YouTubies is. And I must admit the internet's working very well here. Cross our fingers. We got our last bill from Optus, but the thing's still working. They haven't pulled it down yet.
Oh, right.
So I've got a spare line. Yeah.
A phone line?
No, spare internet.
Right.
The cable's still working. We can still get 25 megabits from down from Optus.
Oh, wow.
We've got this funny fault though. If you ring our landline on a Telstra phone, it gets through. If you ring it on an Optus phone, it says the number's been cancelled.
That's very strange.
Very strange. I have to contact Aussie Narrowband and see what happens. Here we are, test patterns. That's my first thing, and it got a date when it was put in. August the 6th, 2006.
Oh, wow. Early days of YouTube.
Yep. And the next one is Bollard Beach, and it's got what's that? Oh, still August the 6th, 2006. Yeah. I just put the video up to see what it would look like. Now it's interesting. Bollard Beach has got 674 views, and Test Patterns has got 3.9k views.
Oh, wow.
Now, interesting. The third video I've got is another test pattern, Retmar, and of course these are low resolution. No point using them as test patterns. Outback Drive, 306 views, and tape recorder burning and playing Henry. That's 12 years ago. In fact, see, all these early stuff I've did, I mean, that's crap quality. Of course, it was only, bad quality on YouTube. I'll have to do...
Yeah, that's right.
Upload them again. But then, see, you can't just upload the video. You've got to do a whole new thing, and you lose the comments and everything.
Yeah.
I suppose I could keep the originals and just put a new version up.
Yeah, and just put I don't know, 4K or something at the end of it. Or, the comments on that tape recorder burning and playing Henry are quite funny. The guy...
no, they get so carried away, don't they?
They certainly do. Yes, and...
look at the quality is so crap.
Hello?
Yeah, hello.
Okay, you're back.
Yeah, the quality is so crap.
Oh, it is. It's, 144p or something.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Why does he burn an old machine that's still working? They're ignorant. They don't know the true value of tape recorder, especially that old one working and probably used tubes. If he checks how much money he will get on eBay for a good tape deck, he wouldn't laugh anymore. It's not a good idea to waste working collectible tape recorders. Unbelievable. It plays through the fire. Isn't it incredible?
No.
Oh. Amazing how long it keeps going. I expected it to short out a lot earlier. Pity it to waste a good working recorder, though. Oh. Gee.
Yes. I don't know if people realise when that video was filmed.
Well, I've said here, this tape recorder was burnt in 1985 when it was not a vintage machine, and anyway, it was a cheap no-brand unit. eBay was not even thought of, and it would have been sold via the trading post for $5. So...
Yes.
And
it had the look, you see.
Yes, that's right.
Yes.
Yeah, well, see, I didn't put a lot of stuff up till recently. I think I was see, you know how a lot of people are putting a couple of things up a day, and, the more you put up, they're basically professionals, and all that didn't exist in those days.
Yeah, that's right. You couldn't... the term YouTuber hadn't been invented.
Yeah, it was just a funny thing to do.
Yeah, it was just random bits and pieces that people had uploaded.
Yeah. I hope they keep it. Look, probably one day, like GeoCities closed down, maybe YouTube might close down one day and all this will be lost.
It probably will. That's why you've got to archive it.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't think that. I might have tried downloading one or two of your videos. I mean, you've got the original, so there's not much point for you. But there's I think I mentioned that program to you where you type in a playlist and it'll just download everything in the highest quality available.
Yeah.
There's a whole subculture of people on the internet called data hoarders.
Ah, yes.
They just spend their lives, their free time downloading everything they possibly can. I mean, there are probably people who've built like racks and racks of terabyte hard drives to make like petabyte hard drives, and they're just obsessed with preserving everything. But then I guess it becomes a bit of compulsive behaviour, and you think, well, it's just virtual hoarding, really.
It is. It's a bit neater. If you have a nice rack.
That's true.
I guess they're worried if the world blows up, they've got the world at their fingertips.
Yeah. Got a backup of the internet.
Yeah. Some, like, all my the unsorted files are a bit like that. I used to record radio programs, I thought, because these are probably the only copies available, and they are. Now they're on the internet, maybe other people have dubbed them off. But the thing is, that was my thought. I thought, like Peter Evans, I thought he's a phenomena, and eventually he won't be there, and somebody should record it. Not just snippets, but record whole programs and things. And that was my philosophy, and probably similar to these hoarders of the internet, just downloading stuff, and storage is getting cheaper and cheaper.
Yeah.
So it's a funny thing. Like, I'd hear something and, gee, I should download this. This might be the only time it's ever said on air, or this, whatever. It's silly, really. And a lot of the stuff's getting, well, if it's getting too old, it becomes irrelevant because the people who might be interested are not there anymore. So it has to be put out, as soon as possible. Any archive material, old films or audio stuff has to be stuck out there. But just, it's amazing. So I've got all the originals, so I could, if I wanted to, I could stick them all up on Vimeo or some new thing.
Yeah.
Or if, some alternative to YouTube came up, I could put it up there. Or I could put them up my own server. Now I've got decent speed, and people could watch that directly.
And do you have much space on your server? Because that'd be the main issue, I think, with putting... that's why YouTube's so attractive, because you can upload almost any...
You've dropped out. You still there? He's gone. Da-da-da-da. Hello. Oh, I've lost him. I see. It's back again.
Am I back again?
Yeah, back again. Well, I was thinking, like my home server... It wouldn't matter, just have a bigger drive I get.
Yes, but then you'd have to host your website from your home, which is fine.
Well, what I'd do, I'd still host it from a server company, because they make sure it works 24 hours a day. But I'd have links to my home server for stuff, which I do too now anyhow. So
with the streaming.
Yeah. So I could have, all the big stuff hosted here. Then I don't need to send it across to the US, and people can just listen to it off the stream, off the hard drive here. And with 40 or 50 megabits up, I don't think it would be a problem.
Yes, it'd probably be best to have a dedicated server for that, because the problem, once you network your different servers together, or you host your externally visible stuff off a computer that's internally connected, or your desktop computer, that's where it starts to become a target.
But I mean, I just put a bash computer there, and if it blows up, who cares?
Well, yeah, that's what you want to do. You want to just have a computer that's dedicated to that task, and
that's right.
Particularly good, and just it's almost in an air gap with respect to the computers that you use for day-to-day tasks. Yeah,
the Broadwave one is just a computer from the nature strip, just sitting there.
Yeah, I mean, if people wanted to try and hack that, they wouldn't even find anything. I mean,
No.
they wouldn't even find the audio files because you're playing those off something else.
I
aren't
know.
you?
It's been totally stripped. All it has is Windows and Broadwave. They're the only programs it's got on it. And
Yeah.
I just feed the audio in. Yep. So there'd be not much incentive to get anything out of it. It came from the street. It has got the bank accounts, personal information of the person who put it out on the street, their photograph, their passport details, driving license, their police record. All this stuff is there.
Isn't it amazing how this stuff just gets... I've found 2 or 3 computers in the past week in Monash hard rubbish that were like that, and people toss these out on the street, and you could fully impersonate these people.
Yeah.
If you wanted to, and you think I don't let. I'm very careful with what I let out because I know that people like me find it.
Yeah.
And it's a bit shocking.
Anytime I throw a computer out, I take out the hard drive and smash it up if I'm not going to keep it. It's the only thing to do, and pull out the RAM. I'll pull out the RAM and smash it up and throw it in another rubbish bin. So really all you've got is power supply and motherboard that's just going out in the street, and there's just hopefully no information there that could be used.
Well, yeah, you'd need to be under probably some intense watch from military officials if they wanted to try and recover information after that.
Yeah, you could probably get some if you really needed it, but it wouldn't be much, I don't think. And it is amazing. People just throw stuff out and don't realise what they've got. Even phones, phones can have quite a bit on. They get their new phone, they just throw the old one in the street or in the cupboard or whatever, and it's got all their information up till the time they stop using it.
Because a lot of people do their banking on phones, and a lot of the time you could probably just open the thing up, and if they've set it up such that it's that one-touch login, you could get straight into their access their bank account immediately. Now, and you'd get a text saying, "Is this you?" And of course, it's going to
your phone.
The phone. So it's totally useless.
And when cordless phones were big, the analog cordless phones. You'd listen in, people ring up the ANZ Bank and says, "Put in your password," and they go beep, bop, bop, beep in DTMF tones. And you think, well, if you recorded that, you could log in. I'm Mrs. X, and this is my, put in the number. And they had quite a bit of money too, I must admit, because they requested a bank statement thing. It was read out to them automatically, and they had hundreds of thousands of dollars there, and I could have got it just by putting beep tones in.
Yes. Well, you'd like to hope that things are a bit more secure now. I mean, I don't know if people are. I've still got cordless phones that are totally analog, and you could easily pick up. So I do wonder how many people are still.
Oh, you need a cordless phone now because you've dropped out.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, you're back again.
Good.
Yeah, look, they should still work, and I think they're still legal. It's just I haven't heard one for years. But in the heyday, the whole band was just full of all these burbling conversations, people talking all the time.
Yeah, wow. What was it, 50 megahertz or something? Like, it was near 6 metres, wasn't it?
There was 2 types. There was the 160 to, I think, 42 megs. So the main, the handsets are on 42 megs, and the base station with both channels being broadcast out, the receive and send were on 1.75 up to 1800 megs, 1800 kilohertz. So just below 160, you'd hear all these conversations. It was just like half the band just listening to the broadcast band at night, in the country. You just get 100 people talking all over each other. And,
wow.
It was quite interesting. It was narrowband FM, and they used to go a long way too, those signals. So, it's quite... I did.
Yeah.
I did feed mine into my big antenna and use it as an extra distance mobile phone, but it didn't go far because there were so many stations on the line. And then there were just the VHF ones, which they got rid of the 160 side because it's pretty stupid, because if you had buzzing fluorescent lights in your office or something, they didn't work very well.
Yes.
But they were an innovation when they first came in. This thing, you could actually walk around your room without a cord.
Yeah, you didn't need the extra long handset cord attached to the receiver.
And you could buy from the US extra long distance ones. They run about 50 watts, and you could, use them in your farm or whatever. They were illegal, of course, but people did bring them in. And yeah.
Yeah, what I reckon would be really good is, I think in some parts of the world there's a 900 megahertz ham band.
Right. Yes.
And a lot of the old Motorola bag phones, the ones that they're smaller than car phones. I mean, you could carry them around, but they had a separate handset. They all operated on around 850 to 950 megs, but they were fully programmable.
Yep.
And it'd be good to, if we had one of those bands, and just get the old Motorola bag phones, and you can configure them as repeaters. You can just use them as FM transmitters. They're great things, and but yeah, unfortunately, I think Germany has that band.
Right.
Yeah, we don't.
I know when they got phased out, people, you could modify them so they're just a duplex handset. You could talk to someone as they're walking along, just and not duplex, simplex, duplex, just like a walkie-talkie but two-way.
Yeah.
Or duplex, and they'd be fun to do. I've got a box of them here. I've kept every mobile phone I've had. Of course, people say throw them out, and sustainability. I don't care. I like to keep these things.
Yeah. Have a good evolution of them then.
Yes, I've got bag phones and the brick phones, and
up until a few years ago, you could still use the brick phones because they were all GSM.
Now the brick phones, they did make GSM ones. Most of them were analog, but there were GSM brick phones, so you could have used them up to reasonably recently. Yeah, which would have been a laugh, wouldn't it?
Yes, that'd be. I wanted to do that for the longest time, to walk around with one of these old Motorola MicroTac GSM phones with the giant SIM cards in them, and but I never got around to doing it, unfortunately, before they cut 2G from the network.
Could probably just modify a cheap phone from Safeways, stick it in a brick phone, and have it so you use a brick phone. It'd be quite a laugh, wouldn't it?
Yes, you probably could do that. I've got a stack of them in the garage as well. Not sure what I'm going to do with them. But yeah, it'd be quite a laugh. Yes. Mobile phones. Yes. I was reading some old copies of the Telecommunications Journal of Australia. Yep. The old copies of which are on some. You remember I gave you those discs a while ago?
Yes.
You can't read.
Yes.
There's an entire archive of Telecommunications Journal of Australia, and they've got photos of the old microwave towers with the old upside down pyramid type antennas. Do you know the type that I'm...
Yes, yeah, the microwave things.
Yeah, I've seen photos of those, and they look totally alien.
Yeah.
I don't think that I've ever seen one in real life. That's another thing that I've got in the garage. It's part of a mobile phone cell now. I don't know what I'm going to do with that. It's nowhere near any amateur bands, but I don't know, maybe it's good for the connectors or something.
Yeah, well, they can always come in useful, I suppose.
Now, do you have any videos in the works? Because I'm anxiously awaiting your next video.
Oh, look, I just haven't got around. I could do lots of... the trouble is, what will I put up? I could do one on so many subjects. It's just like...
Yeah,
There's sort of a lot of work and you get 100 hits. It makes you wonder what's the point. If I was like these people who get 40,000 hits each time they do one, there's some gratification. But look, I've got lots of old films to put up. I can put up stuff about tech stuff, or old equipment or whatever. I could do so much. It's just really it's working out what I want to do. And
that's always the tricky part.
I was going to do one on FM on 160 metres. That'd be a good topic. Using SDRs and showing how it's done. I could do that. Yeah, look, it's just a matter of doing it. And look, I know it's due for a video, because you'd lose ratings if you don't have one every week, or a couple of times a week. That's what you should do, but who cares? Look, it can become a too much of a preoccupation, I guess. But yeah, anyway, at least this will be on YouTube tomorrow, of course, and which would be good.
What, will we?
Yeah,
what?
Yeah, Chris always puts the things up on YouTube now.
Oh, he does.
Yes,
I forgot about that.
Yes, I don't say anything that you don't want heard on YouTube, because that's where it goes. Gets high ratings.
I think
he gets quite
last
good ratings,
week,
actually.
He does. He certainly does. I've been posting some of those up on the 160 metre page, and then there's the big Australian amateur radio group on Facebook. I'm a bit hesitant to post things in there because I think some of those people are a bit dogmatic.
Bit straight.
And I mean, there are a lot of people that aren't. I mean, I posted the missions page on there and got a bunch of likes, and that was nice.
Okay.
And nobody sort of said, "Oh, this is rubbish." But yeah, so I might try posting a few more things. But some of the topics just turn into these endless flame wars about nothing. About whether somebody's running 10 watts over the limit, and then you've got this endless back and forth, and it's like, well,
some people love arguing the finer points of legalities. Legalities on these things, like power, or what you're meant to say, or what, all this crap, and it doesn't matter. I mean, they have to write the regulations. What do we do? Oh, we make it 100 watts. Yeah, that sounds about right. And then, it's just a ball. They've got to write something down. What it actually means in true, well, around 100 watts. If you're 110, no one's going to get booked. But, it's just that. But some people think that these rules, like 8 kilohertz bandwidth, if you go 8.1, you're going to have police cars and the ACMA coming down on you like a ton of bricks. Yeah, the legal system is just like, just because things are written down, unless they've got it in for you, it basically means it's just a guideline. That's the way I take it.
Well, yeah, that's what I was. That's what on the few occasions I've joined in on these discussions. That's why I say there's the letter of the law and there's the implementation of the law, and they're very different things.
Yeah.
I mean, if you stuck to the letter of the law, I think that almost everyone would be in jail, and it's all a matter of circumstance. But it's something to fall back on if people, I don't know, really get up in people's grills or whatever.
Yeah, and it's good for, when they want to make revenue. So if you go 1 mile an hour above the limit, they can book you $10,000 and they make money.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But in the normal run of things, it's very hard often to get somebody booked because it's unless they go really overboard. And
especially, with things as trivial as ham radio. I mean, they've got much more important things to worry about generally.
And they know all these DX people are using 1,000 watts. What can they do about it? I mean, they buy it's not illegal to buy a high-power amplifier, and people just, if they got inspected, they'd turn it down. And
yeah, that's right. But I think that some people need to compulsively argue the finer points, and that's sort of what they really get a kick out of. And I don't know. But then again, people tend to bait these other people by saying, "Oh, well, I'm running X number of watts," and it's just an excuse to have an argument, really.
It is. Mr. Adcock used to do that, talk about the power ratings and stuff, and how much you're meant to run, and the peak envelope power or whatever, and it's just all the mathematics. And people said, well, look, who cares? I mean, what's going to happen? You run around 100 watts or something you're meant to run. That's it. And measurement is hard to do anyhow. In this, it's just all BS. Now the other thing is, the old crossband stream is interesting, isn't it? There's some fantastic stuff on that.
Oh, the classic crossbands.
Yeah, not crossbands, the coffee breaks, the old coffee breaks.
Ah, the coffee breaks. Now, I haven't listened to too many of the coffee breaks.
Look,
I've tuned into that stream a few times.
Yeah, some are really good. Look, there's good and bad because I just put it there willy-nilly, but some of the older ones are really, it's a totally different thing. It was actually far more interesting and whatever. Yeah, so yeah, that's good listening. I've found listening to them quite good sometimes.
Oh.
And you've disappeared again. You must have some buffering problems on that line.
Good connection. It's pretty terrible. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, okay now.
Oh, good.
At least it's either good or bad, which is good. It's either there or not. It's not burbly, so that's good.
Yeah, that's right. What vintage are these? You find the most interesting coffee break nets come from?
Well, the stuff from the 80s, 90s is interesting. Early 2000s isn't too bad because you had some interesting people there. A lot you'd recognise, but it was really quite interesting. Yeah, so yeah, keep an eye on that if you've got 10,000 years to have a listen in, and it's too much, isn't there? Too much information. Can you imagine back in the old days when you had to live in a cave? What would you do? I mean, you skin your mammoth and you eat it, and you do whatever you do it there. But I mean, it'd be pretty boring, wouldn't it? There's no intellectual stimulation.
But then you could go and invent language and make some arts and build engines and you just build up a society. I mean, it takes bloody long because nobody's got a car or a bike or anything. But you just got to invent English literature or something.
I guess in 10,000 years' time, think how pathetic. Everything's just virtual. I don't know what it would be. We can't, but they think actually using mechanical things to get around and talking to and eating food, have your mind controlled by this useless body thing when you just float through the universe in whatever mode. They just think we're just so backward.
Yeah, that's right. I think that we'll probably just be a bunch of disembodied brains living on computers. I mean, that's effectively what we are now. We just need to remove the space between the human and the computer and then be finished.
I think that'd be right. And now we're just doing it and we've got to use our senses and our physical attributes to control them. When it's just all done by the mind, that'll be it. And so maybe then there'll be people who live forever because they live in the cloud. And we just probably miss that. But do you want to live in the cloud forever? I don't know if it'd be a good idea or not.
Oh yeah, that's right. But you could download your brain into a spaceship or something and then spend years flying through the galaxy or whatever.
You couldn't come out somewhere else. Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be quite interesting.
See, I think the human brain people might get sick of being, around for hundreds of thousands of years. It could get.
I think that they might go a bit weird after a few thousands of years, and then they might suddenly start building planets and other tiny human beings and, meddling in their lives. That's probably what's happened now. I mean, we're just like a little science project done by these billion-year-old life forms.
Well, we could be. How would we know? The thing is, we don't know because we haven't got that intellect to understand it. You look at, domestic animals. They've been living with us for thousands, tens of thousands of years, and they understand some things, but they don't understand most of it, and they haven't been able to jump this line to be intelligent like us. So they just haven't. Their brain hasn't got that attribute, and we could be the same. There could be things going on, and we could be controlled by powers that we don't have that intellectual capacity to even understand that it could be there.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, we might just be providing entertainment for a whole bunch of creatures who's I mean, if they're on like a 1,000,000-year time span, then like we'd just be like a commercial break for them.
That's right.
The entirety of human existence from its dawn to its sort of end, and all these political, it'd be like a really engaging drama. I mean, like all these million different stories, and you could zoom in on to whatever level you like. It'd be very entertaining for a supreme sort of alien being to watch over.
Well, it could very well be happening.
Yeah.
Yep. So
who knows?
We're just doing pointless things here, totally pointless.
That's right. Well, you know, one of those supreme alien beings might be very interested in crossbands, so we might be their favourite part of the whole story. Who knows?
They could be listening to it in another galaxy.
That's right. Yeah, they might be picking this up like thousands of years from now.
Yeah.
In 1,000 light years away. It'd be quite amusing.
It's a pity that golden record they sent out into space didn't have a branch crossband.
That's right. There was a glaring omission from the Voyager record. It was an old branch replay.
Maybe have Chico Rolls, or what one will we have?
It'd have to be a short one like the Chico Rolls crossband, because it didn't have much space. I mean, they had to fit all that other stuff on it.
Can you imagine, like, they waited 10 years, they could have put a disc there and had megabits on it.
That's right.
And
even a CD would have been far superior.
I guess the disc is going to last. It's just a metallic thing. It's probably would last more than some things. But if it went close to a sun or something, it might melt and lose all its grooves.
Yeah, that's true.
But when you think if it landed in somewhere and they say, look, a bloody Edison disc, we're not even going to look. These people are so backward.
Ancient technology.
Yeah. I suppose it was sent in the 20s. It would have had a wax disc on there.
Oh, it would have frozen and shattered. And, goodness me.
Right.
Can you imagine what space travel would have been like in the 20s if they'd gotten rocketry sorted in like the 1890s and then started sending stuff into space in the 1920s? It'd be everything on wax cylinders and everything using those little triodes.
I guess, see, they would be quite happy to go to them if they could go to the moon, come back, and they didn't have TV and communications. But that's when people Captain Cook, once he left England, that was it. No one knew what happened until he got back. So it'd be the same thing. People wouldn't expect to get a data train coming back telling them every little bit that's happening on the trip. If they didn't come back, well, they've obviously crashed or something's happened to them, been eaten by aliens.
Yes. It'll be. I don't know. It's difficult to imagine. Even advances in travel and communication time. I mean, the concept of something taking 2 weeks for a bit of information to go across the world, when now it takes a few seconds, is for someone of my generation a bit difficult to fathom, I think. But yeah, I mean, well, looking at the old what you could call high-speed communications technologies and how incredibly expensive and unreliable they were. I mean, to send telegrams with that sort of urgency between the Commonwealth nations, it was, yes,
it's pretty amazing. Yeah, and look, I think, well, you're used to what you are. I mean, when people went overseas, you just knew that you might get a postcard or something from them, if you're lucky. But
probably by the time they came back.
Yeah. So, sometimes that happened. You'd come back, and then the day after, you get a postcard. Having a lovely time in London. Here's a picture of Big Ben.
Yes.
So you're just not, and even if you're travelling, around Australia in your car, you just accept. You wouldn't be contacting anyone. I remember when I drove around in 1972, I've said this story before, but anyway, I'll say it again. I was at Broome, and I lost I left my bag with my money and wallet and all that stuff in it. So I had to ring home to get money wired to the bank or whatever. Anyway, what happened, the police found it and came and gave it to me. So some nice person in Broome had found it and then gave it back to me, so that was all to the good. But I had to book a phone call from the I went up to the telephone exchange and said, "Oh, look, I need to ring Melbourne." They said, "Oh, well, 3 o'clock tomorrow afternoon you can come in and we'll book a call for you." So I came at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, had a 1 minute call back home. So that was 1972.
That would have cost a fortune, I imagine.
It cost a fortune. And I had to, so basically, now you just pick up your phone. And if you weren't in phone area, you'd go to the next town where there's a phone and make a call, I guess. But that's just the things we expect used to happen back in those days.
Yes, probably went down the Sydney-Melbourne coaxial cable.
I think
those big infrastructure projects.
At that time, Broome had, in fact, I saw the telephone wires going up the road. They had, I think, to Broome in that area, there was a couple of 3 or 4 teletype lines and 2 baseband, voice frequency telephone lines going there. That's all there was. Plus,
those open wire feeder systems, the J systems, yeah.
That's right. And it wasn't even that. I think it was just voice, ordinary old-fashioned voice telephone, voice frequencies. They used HF and stuff a lot for, as well. But if you wanted to make a call back to the city, you had to use the telephone system. So, interesting. And that's not that long ago, I don't think. Well, it is, I suppose. It depends how old you are.
Yeah, there's still bits and pieces of that infrastructure around.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot being done with it. I'm trying to figure out the remains of the Melbourne-Morwell coaxial cable at the moment. Because I think that actually predates the Sydney-Melbourne one.
It probably would, yeah.
Yeah, and all these little repeater huts dotted along the Princess Highway and the Hume Highway.
They'd be nice little huts. You'd have to have one as a booth.
Yeah, they'd make excellent booths because they're built like bunkers.
Yeah,
sort of height of the Cold War construction.
Yep, vandal-proof.
Designed to, and the fact that many of them are still standing.
Yeah,
and many of them still have the original equipment, the original, not just the original Siemens 4 megahertz equipment or whatever it was, but also all the repeaters that they put in afterwards, where they basically made those huts redundant and compressed everything into the size of a milk crate by the end of the 70s.
Right.
Yeah, I was talking a lot to Mr. Kilt about this.
Oh, he'd know all about that. Who's a big telecom man?
Yeah, he worked on those lines for years, and he said, "Oh, my first job was taking apart one of the old relay systems they'd installed in the 20s."
Really?
When he started working on it in the 60s. So, yeah.
He'd be a wealth of information, that Mr. Kilt.
Oh, he certainly is. I mean, I've had 3 phone calls totaling about 9 hours with him.
Well, you get him interested to come on the missions again. It'd be quite interesting.
I think that he would be incredibly interesting to have on the missions, but I don't think that he's. I don't know if he's interested in talking to anyone unless unless I pester him or something.
Now you have heard his crossbands.
I've only heard one Kilt crossband, and that's the Kilt monitoring station.
Oh yes, yeah. He used to come on a bit. There must be more, but see he was quite interesting in that.
Oh yeah, that's one of my favourite old missions. Listening to him talking about high voltage DC and Coin Ridge and all that.
Yeah.
And,
maybe he thought we were a bit below him, I think, in intellect. Maybe he had that idea. Some people do think that. I don't know why. But yeah, no, look, he might be. If you're listening, Mr. Kilt, it'll be interesting to have you come on again. You can come on and talk. You don't need to come on 6 metres. Oh, now, have you done any more about 6?
6? No, I haven't yet. I'm sort of waiting for Chris to put something up, and he's probably waiting for me to put something out. I've just got to put the antenna on the mast. That's all I need to do. I've got the radio sorted, but taking down that bloody mast is such a pain. I almost destroyed my brother's foot last time we tried to take it down, because right now, to take the mast down, you've got to lift it out of a PVC socket in the ground. I designed it very poorly, and you've got to put it into this divot, and it pivots in the divot, and you can sort of, if somebody's standing on the base, you can sort of lower it down by one of the guy wires and put another antenna on it. But it's I didn't really think it through. I just went out one afternoon and started building it, and then couldn't stop building it. So I just, whatever I had on the day is now this 9-metre wobble mast in the backyard.
Look, masts are a pain. A pity you need them for radio, isn't it? It's the effort of putting mine up is, one person can just put up a 50-foot tallow mast, but it's a real pain, and quite dangerous too, because if it starts to fall, it's pretty bad. It'd be lovely to have a house with a big 100-foot tower built there already.
Yeah, well, one day I want to have a branch tower.
Oh yes, that wasn't a great tower. So so aesthetic.
Yes. I'd love a freestanding tower like that.
Oh no, they're great. I'd love one. Yeah.
But yeah, I probably wouldn't get council approval now. Do you know if you needed council approval for a tower like that back then, or did he just not care?
I don't. I think he just built it. You probably did have to, but it's like a lot of things. If you just do it, and no one complains, it's okay. And then after it's been there 10 years, it's part of the scenery, and no one cares anymore.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. But it was ugly, but it was a landscape. It was an icon in that area. So it used to, it was good. But look, I'd like to get a country property with a big tower on it, an ex-broadcast station, or pity VIM. I couldn't afford to buy that when it's sold. You could have gone down there and had all those tenors. A nice place too, near Cape Shank.
Yeah, I've been meaning to go by there, and because I think the buildings are still there, and I don't think they're being used for anything at the moment. But I might be wrong.
I don't know. Probably not used for anything. But they used to have it. Maybe they've still got a lot of stuff in that's in the video. It'd be good, wouldn't it? But I doubt it.
Yes, I hope that. Well, it's tempting from an urbex perspective, but probably shouldn't. No, I didn't say that.
No, that's right.
That's right. But going back to masts just very quickly, there was a section of 500 kV line, like transmission line, not far from where I am now, and they took down 3 of the big pylons, the sort of steel meshwork pylons, and replaced them with these basically enormous telegraph poles. Yep. And I thought, wouldn't one of those big 500 kilovolt towers be good for a mast?
They would be. I've noticed near the Westgate they've done that too. They've got rid of the towers and put up those big stick things. Yeah,
the big monopoles.
Yeah. Now they'd be good for antenna too, but probably more expensive. I don't think those towers were. There were some hams who had them. There was a guy near Ballarat had one. Some hams did get them because you could buy them from the SEC, and they were made in modular form. Like you just buy a truckload of all those bits of metal and you just bolt them together.
Yeah.
And I think, if you had a couple of guys, you could build one in a few months. And they're meant to be built, because obviously there's so many built, they just make them, modular and easy to screw together. The numbered bits of metal, basically, and just put them together, bolt them. And, look, I think if you had the land, you could probably buy one of those old bits and pieces of one and build it up. It'd be fantastic, wouldn't it? You have those arms, you could hang different antennas off. It's a bit like Armstrong's FM antenna in New York was one of those, I think, or something like that.
Yes, I think that'd be absolutely hilarious, just having like a random high voltage pylons just on its own. People would wonder, why is that there? Well,
there was this one, I think it was Bendigo or Ballarat, and you drive into town, you saw it on a hill just all by itself.
Oh, right.
With a few antennas and things hung on
it. Yeah, very good.
But if you wanted, say, a 120-foot tower, it's just one of those, something like Don's got, a square, taxi tower type thing. They're not. I think Don put his up by himself. They're not that hard, and they take up a lot less space. They look better, and they're more economical. You don't have tons of metal, because those pylons are meant to hold wires with tons of tension on them.
Yeah.
Like, it's totally overbuilt for antennas, really. You just need a pole in the air or in something. Although they're so solid, you could build your shack up on the tower. It wouldn't make any difference. How would that be?
Yeah, that's right. Oh, that'd be fantastic. Just and it could be multiple levels. I mean, you could have multiple shacks for each band.
Yeah.
You could just build your own. You could live in the thing if you really wanted to.
Yeah, I think that'd be a great idea.
I'll need to get one of these. There was actually one sitting in pieces just up the road, underneath where they'd put the new one up. You'd need a few trailers to move the whole thing, but I thought, would they really notice if all of it went missing?
Probably not. And it's probably going to the scrap metal department.
Oh yeah, that's right. I mean, those towers were all put up in the 50s when they were building the line from the Latrobe Valley to Melbourne. They probably just binned all of it.
They probably did. Some of those lines from your lawn are incredibly. They date back to the 20s. Some of them are really ancient. The smaller, thinner towers are the really old ones.
Yeah, that's right. The lower voltage lines. They're positively ancient, a little bit rusty too, I think.
That's right. Yeah, I suppose one day they'll pull them all down. They could just have a little bell wire with superconductor, and just have a little bell wire running through, be a bit cheaper.
Yes. Yeah, I wonder how long until they shut down all the stuff in the Latrobe Valley. I mean, Hazelwood's still. They said that they were shutting that down, but it's still not completely gone.
Well, I don't know if it's a good idea to shut it down for a while, because they've gone a bit overboard, I think.
Yeah, I think they shut down a bit too much too quickly.
Yes, you should always have a smooth changeover to make sure it's working. They're so quick to get rid of it.
Well, that's right. I mean, you don't want... it's always not going to end well if you get rid of all of your stuff, if you don't have a fully functioning replacement going.
Yeah. Well, like last few hot summers, we've had load sharing, blackouts when it's hot, which we didn't used to have. So it's not, it's obviously doesn't work in every situation. So they need to have a think about that, I think. Oh, I think it is changing. I mean, it's not going to... It's a social safety issue. They can't have the power going off. And
yeah, that's right.
If the network goes unstable, it could take days or weeks to get it back running again if the whole thing went off, and it would be disastrous. Hundreds of people would die. Yeah,
that's right. I mean, that's one of the advantages of those stations, is that they're very good for starting up from nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously they need a diesel generator, but it's all integrated into the setup of those coal stations, so they can also set the timing for the 50 hertz from there, which is very difficult to do if you're going off, solar or wind, to get that grid synchronization. But you can do it with hydro. So you just better hope that the hydro's running. The
hydro though is pretty small compared to the coal.
It is. It's very small, and it would take a long time to actually probably get everything sorted.
And being summer, there may not be any water.
Well, yeah, that's the other issue.
So they have to think this out very carefully, because people aren't going to put up with it. I think the old gung-ho and the blackouts in South Australia and the brownouts here have made people rethink the whole thing. So hopefully we'll see what happens. But I think it'll get worse before it gets better.
Yes. Well, we just need Mr. Tesla to come and build a few thousand batteries. And
yes, right. Well, that'd be great. I don't think storing energy in chemical batteries is a very good idea, because any chemical reactions make heat. They're not lossy. We need something a bit better, I think. Supercapacitors or something.
And just a giant flywheel.
Yeah.
What we need is, just have like instead of having like the Australian synchrotron, which doesn't get used for anything, we'll just have like a giant flywheel in that building and just pour all the power into that.
That will be more
when
efficient.
We need it back, just put the brakes on it, it'll generate megawatts.
It will. And that thing, that silly Ferris wheel, when you go over the Balti Bridge, they could make that into put weights on it, make that have it going at 20,000 RPM. That'd be a great flywheel as well.
That'd be fantastic.
And it'd be good things visually, people could see, put flashing lights on it and stuff.
Yeah, it'd be a Melbourne landmark.
Yep.
It'd tell you how much power everyone's using.
Yep. So
if it starts to slow down, the grid's not doing too well.
It would, like in the day when there's lots of wind and sun, it'd be revving like mad. Then at night it would slowly slow down until the morning and it'd start to rev up again. And look, I think it'd be great. Flywheels aren't such a silly idea because they do have no brake supplies running on flywheels, and they seem to work fairly well.
Yeah, they're incredibly efficient devices for storing energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and probably good tourist attractions.
That's right. And particularly, you've dropped off there again. Yeah, particularly if you can see them like the Melbourne Eye and all that sort of stuff.
Yes.
If you had one underground, then if the bearings broke and it couldn't go anywhere and wreck things, that'd be a good idea.
Sorry, you just dropped out for a second there.
If you had them underground, then they wouldn't wreck. It wouldn't cause damage if they went astray and flew off their bearings.
Oh, you can just imagine that. I mean, can you imagine a 20,000 RPM disc just flying across the ZBD?
Be amazing.
That'd be quite bad.
The Melbourne Eye would fly across, it'd smash through the Balti Bridge. Smash it a lot and run along the Maribyrnong River valley.
Yeah, it'd probably get up to Benalla or something before it slowed down.
Be pretty exciting, wouldn't it?
Yeah. It'd be quite good and also quite bad. That reminds me of another thing that I discovered the other day. Have you heard about you know that they've used steel and copper and aluminium for wiring materials in buildings. Do you know that they also use sodium? Sodium wire. Now, that might not sound like a very good idea.
What if it gets wet? It might explode.
Well, as long as you don't keep it wet, apparently it's quite good. Now, it's a pretty rubbish conductor.
Yeah.
But if you look at the conductance per weight compared to copper, it's actually quite economical.
Oh, right.
Because it's so light, you needed to have like thicker conductors, but it's still lighter than the equivalent copper conductor.
Right. Is it cheap?
Well, you can make it out of seawater, I guess. If you have enough energy, you can just reduce it out of seawater, salt.
Look, all I know about sodium, at school you'd have sodium, you'd drop it in a beaker of water and explode. And it was just like little flakes of metal, but you can actually obviously get it in wire.
Oh yeah, we used to make sodium wire in the Monash chemistry lab. That's how we kept all of our solvents dry. Yeah, any oxygen would just react with the sodium and go all white and crusty, and keep the toluene dry. It's quite convenient.
You could have sodium wiring on a boat, so it would be lighter.
Yes, that's right.
And if it sunk,
slightly more flammable, quite a bit more flammable.
Wouldn't it add fire safety regulations would be a bit down on having sodium wire, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that was probably one of the reasons why they stopped using it. But it was apparently very effective for a period in the early 70s.
Right. Sodium. Look, kids would get it, rip it out and put it in the toilet bowls and make them explode. That's a problem, isn't it?
Yeah, they definitely would. I've got a block of sodium in the garage. Yeah, I've been trying to think of a way to creatively dispose of it.
Yes, I see what you mean.
Because, I think that would be quite a good pyrotechnic display. It's about the size of a matchbox.
Right. What if you just threw it off a pier into water? Would it bubble and explode or what?
Yes, it would. It would. well, it'd fizz around for a bit
Yeah.
and spark, and then once it had generated enough hydrogen, it would go bang.
That'd be quite fun to see.
Yeah. I've got to find an appropriate place to do it, of course, because the other thing is it turns into sodium hydroxide, and you just make the water very, very alkaline, and kills most of the fish and stuff, which is not good.
The big ocean can still dilute it a bit.
Oh, yeah. Well,
be okay in the bay.
That's true. It'd be fine in the bay, but it'd probably float away too quickly. Yes, there's a big abandoned reservoir next to a certain hardware store not far from a certain university that I was thinking of disposing of it in. But there's the walls of this reservoir. It's empty. They're about 7 metres high.
Really?
But getting inside the reservoir is a bit challenging because you've got to climb along the wall for a bit and then find an old rusty ladder and sort of dodge all the burnt out cars. That'd be a yes.
Sounds like fun.
Yes, and I've been planning to do a few pyrotechnic displays, completely controlled and OHS logged and all that.
Yep. Very safe.
But yes, well, one of them is, of course, the Cumes burn.
Oh, another. We haven't done one of those for years.
Yeah, well, I showed a few people at work that video,
right.
And within about a week we had about 5 vacuum cleaners to
Really?
dispose of.
Oh, well.
I haven't gotten around to it yet. I think one of the guys that I was planning to set this thing up with is also good friends with Mr. K.
Oh, right.
And Mr. K told him it wasn't such a good idea. So I don't know.
Why would he say that? He used to be involved in it.
Yes, and
Don't tell me he's gone conservative in his old
I'm
age.
just concerned for our safety.
Oh, what can go wrong?
What could go wrong, indeed?
It's only petrol. Put sodium wires on them.
Yeah, some various flammable materials would be quite interesting. What is also interesting, if you ever get your hands on some bromine. Bromine is very good with aluminium foil.
Right.
Yeah, it goes up sort of like a bright red rocket plume.
Truth. So many interesting things to do.
That's right.
Yeah.
And giving the listeners probably some bad ideas.
We'll probably be taken off. We'll be on the banned list on the internet thing. You can't do.
That's right. We're lighting up all the red flags at the headquarters of the Ministry of Disinformation.
Right. Yes, because you can't have anything like this going out. They'll have to take down their web server.
Yes.
Take down 160 and 80.
Yeah.
Jamming. That's what the radar was, I suppose. There's probably radar back on there now because it's probably jamming us.
I know. We've made Kim all upset.
Yes, that's right.
I know we're coming up with ideas that might be used in a paramilitary context.
Well, you might give him some ideas. He's buying up all the sodium now.
Yes, that's right.
And he's probably sitting in his palace there, listening on his cushions, listening through a special North Korean receivers made by the People's Republic of North Korea.
Yes,
the
North
DRK.
Korean PMG department.
Yes. They can only, their radio's only got switch channels.
Sorry, you've dropped out again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, the radios there only have switch channels. You can't tune around. You can only hear the official Kim channels. So you're not going to stray and hear something else they're not meant to hear.
So they're those sealed sets.
They've gone back to the sealed set principle that we got rid of in 1920. Yes, so that's it. So you can't listen to material that might change your point of view.
Yeah, I wonder if anybody's listening to the missions in North Korea. It would be quite amusing. Some dissident is using us as inspiration and we're going to cause a big diplomatic disaster.
I think it's hard to get internet there, unless you're in the elite. If you're in the political elite, you've got internet, but the normal people don't. So quite possibly, there might be people in Mr. Kim's entourage or politicians in the Communist Party would be listening. They've probably got good internet, but everyone else has got none at all.
Are there any are there any amateur radio people in North Korea? I imagine.
I don't think so.
Not.
I don't think so. I mean,
what's the call sign for a North Korean? NK1.
I can look. I've got. Don't be evil here. We can find out if they have ham radio in North Korea.
I wonder if they have a reciprocal licensing arrangement.
There might be like an official station or whatever, but I doubt it. Yeah.
Well, there were quite a few hams in communist Russia.
Yeah, and China has got.
And in China. So I don't see why you couldn't have them in North Korea. Maybe they consider it backwards technology or something. Who knows?
Okay, ham radio in North Korea. Okay, let's have a listen to this. North Korea. Let's try and find something about it. Stuff about it. Try and ham radio operators hope to put North Korea on the air. A group of amateur operators hoping to get permission from North Korea government for a month-long trip there, but not their normal people, I don't think. North Korea on the air, but it's for expeditions, not for the normal people.
De-expeditions to North Korea? Yeah. That sounds like quite an adventure.
Here we are. This is 2013. 2 ham radio operators hoping to get permission to set up a temporary amateur station in North Korea have returned from the trip to the country and have plans to visit again. Well, I don't know, they may not come back.
No.
Yeah, I don't think there's... Yeah, I don't get any local... Here we are. North Korean ham radio operation. Yeah, look, I don't think it's a thing there. I don't think it's a thing there at all.
Yeah, it says here, only North Korea and Yemen do not issue amateur radio licenses to their citizens. So does that mean every other country has...
yeah, there'd be strings attached to it in a lot of countries, but yeah, most of them have it to some degree, obviously. Yeah, I think Russia, they don't have licenses at all. Just people talk anywhere in the broadcast band, anywhere. FM, middle of FM band, there's conversations going on.
Yeah, that's right.
Once like between broadcast band and 160, it's all like a CB band. So yeah, they have a lot of fun. Greeks are the same. They just talk anywhere they want to.
Yeah, I've heard that. It's one of those letter of the law and implementation of the law things, because apparently the Greek radio laws are totally draconian. Like they can actually send you to jail for doing certain things. In fact, just receiving actually. But it doesn't seem to be enforced.
Yes, I think the Greeks that they use a broadcast band. They have. If you've got an SDR receiver in that part of the world, in the tune into the Greeks, there's Greek ham radio. Well, not hams, obviously, but two-way personal communications on the broadcast band. They do have some AM, but not all that much. But most of the channels are clear. And there's people talking. It's a talkback, because I can't understand Greek. Talkback show. But then the carrier goes off, another person comes on, slightly different carrier talking, and it's just, and people playing tinny music and all this sort of stuff. In the broadcast band, middle of the FM band, you hear people just talking and playing music and going on and off. So there's one of these things where the more stringent the regulations are, the people take less notice and it becomes a farce.
Yeah, that's right. I do wonder how long it'll be until do you reckon they'll ever retire the AM broadcast band here, or will they just convert it all to DAB or something? DRM.
I think for I'd say it'll be around for 20 years or so. Because if you listen to crossbands, I was saying it was going to be dead. I mean, say in the early 2000s, I was saying it was going to be dead. And you read old radio magazines, American and European ones from the 1940s, and AM's dead, and FM's going to take over, and it hasn't happened. I think it'll be around for a while, probably as the people say my generation and a bit older may be expected to be there when they die out. It'll probably go, but it's still a viable operation. Look at the major stations. I think it'll be around for a while.
Well, I guess it's partly audience, because if you get more people coming into that audience, then obviously there's something to support it. Whereas if there's an abrupt shift, like an abrupt generational shift, which I think might have occurred with the advent of the internet fairly quickly, or rather social media over the past 15 years, then I don't know, maybe the audience won't transition, or it won't be there to transition. But I do find that I've started listening to 3LO and 3AR.
Oh, really? God.
I find myself just listening to it in the car. It's like, this stuff used to bore me to tears.
Yeah, you must be getting so old now.
I'm getting ancient. That's right.
See, I think while you can stream music in your car and stream radio in the car, but pressing a button on your radio is a lot easier. And until that becomes integrated, which modern cars are probably going to do, but it's tied. Most people listen to the radio in their car, really. So I think, and if you travel in the country, there's not much, there's not, FM doesn't go that far. So I think it'll be around a while, particularly in countries like Australia. The countries that have got rid of it, like Germany and the Scandinavian countries, they went to DAB. And they basically decreed AM is dead, no more licenses, cancel the existing licenses. It wasn't the public saying, oh, we're getting sick of this. And it was actually a government decree. They wanted to change it. Now, I can't imagine America, the UK or Australia or South America that have big AM stations, people's, networks still making, tens of millions of dollars a year, like 2GB or whatever. They don't want to go to another medium. They'll suck AM dries as long as they've got it, really.
Yeah, that's right. And it does make sense if you've got a larger land mass as well.
Yeah, look, the last trip, AM was the only thing I could hear in most places. So it's got a big thing, I suppose. When we get, maybe streaming almost free from satellites or something, it works anywhere, it might change, but I don't know, it might take a while for that to happen. So I think it'll be around for a while. In fact, I'm quite surprised it's still going. The change hasn't been as fast as I thought it would be, and it'll certainly 1920 is the anniversary of the first official commercial wireless station, so it'll certainly make a 100-year anniversary. KDKA in Pittsburgh.
Right.
So that was the first official station that advertised for listeners, not for enthusiasts or hams to listen to, but for the general public. And it's quite an interesting story.
Well, they're still going.
They're still going.
KDKA
still going. The first broadcast station. It was the Westinghouse company started it. One of the employers had people used to run hams used to run music programs just for the interest of experimentation, get a few listeners. And I forget his name, it's all written down there in their history, but one of the guys, he put an ad in the paper saying, station XYZ is going to transmit a music program between 8 and 9 o'clock on Thursday night, just in the paper. Anyone interested with a receiver or crystal set, tune in. and apparently his manager at Westinghouse, he saw this ad and he said, and he called him into the office and said, look, we make radios and electric stuff. This isn't a bad idea. Maybe we could build a big station, put an antenna on our roof, and advertise in the papers and have a couple of hours a day of proper programs, bit of news or something, or stock reports, something, and we could use this as an avenue to sell radios. And that's exactly what they did. And their opening night was the night of the presidential election of that year. And they had a big hookup, a telephone hookup to the tally room, and they were giving all the results as they came to hand. And they had a massive audience, probably a few hundred people, but it was so new and so innovative that it just took off. And from one station, in a year they had hundreds, thousands almost. So it was amazing. Of course, the US was less regulated. They allowed it to happen. But the UK, of course, they had 2LO and all this stuff. And when it started to get popular, the government made regulations. They could only transmit half an hour a day and had to listen for ships in the middle of transmissions every 2 minutes and all sort of stuff. They did everything to make it unpopular.
Yeah, sort of squash it.
Yes, exactly. So yes, the old KDKA.
Yeah, I'm just. It's amazing that they just went ahead and did it. And there wasn't any. It's weird not seeing all these regulatory restrictions because you look at some of the rules they had in place, sort of in that time period, in Australia and in England. Oh, pardon me. And it was a bit draconian.
Yeah,
trying to.
The US was very free in the laws at that stage because they only got through because in 1919 the army, which had taken away all, had taken over. The Army and Navy had taken over all communications regulations. Before that, it was the Board of Trade, who regulated shipping, radio, and amateur radio and that sort of stuff. There wasn't much of it, but shipping was big, of course. And as a Board of Trade, they didn't care if hams were on as long as they didn't interfere with ships and stuff like that. I don't think they even had to have a license. They just kept away from the shipping frequencies. And then the powers that be took over during the war, and they wanted to keep complete control of the spectrum after 1918, and that would have meant no amateur radio, so no experimentation, which led to broadcasting, which led to everything basically, and it was fought out. And they only just passed the regulation that it went back to the Board of Trade, and the Navy and that were really pissed off because they lost their control. They obviously had to them, radio was just communication between ships and military and stuff. This idea of entertainment didn't even come into it. They couldn't conceive of it. And as soon as that law was passed, I think they had very lax laws in the US, and people were just building transmitters. And you look at these old magazines from the late teens and early 20s, designs for must have been terrible transmitters, but people could build a transmitter, transmit to their neighbourhood, and anyone who had someone in the house could, play the piano or sing or play a violin or something. They'd put out terribly distorted music to a telephone microphone, and obviously it caught on. And there were a lot of these stations, and it sort of became commercialised. So yeah, in 4 years, from nothing to a viable entertainment network. Incredible.
Yeah, it's always amazed me at how many stations the US seems to have, AM stations in particular.
Well, I went over there in 1976, and I was amazed. I got off at San Francisco, and on the dial, every spot on AM and FM was just full. There's no clear spots. I thought, this is incredible. And it's amazing how it works. And when they started broadcasting, 860 kilohertz was the only channel, that was the channel allocated to broadcasting. And then you had KDKA, then within a few months you had probably a few dozen stations doing the same thing. all on the same frequency, so you can imagine what a mess that would have been. And they'd accidentally drift off a bit, so they'd be having a clear channel. And so it was just a mess around 860. And then after they had a few hundred stations, they realised it was unworkable. They added another channel. So I think one channel was sort of more professional stations, and one was for less, like the smaller stations. And that didn't work out well. And the head of Board of Trade was Hoover from the famous Hoover. It was one of his first things. He was the Secretary for Wireless or whatever. And he was very... for the building up of a entertainment network, and he basically was for the stations, and he basically rewrote the spectrum chart, kicked all the shipping down below the broadcast band, and made the broadcast band from 550 to I think 1300 originally, then up to 1500 a bit later, and actually made the broadcast band to fit 100 stations in, and that's basically what they were working on now.
Yeah, wow.
He was very, I don't think it was a lot of other problems that things he did, but he was certainly for that the commercialisation, probably because there's money in it, for the radio spectrum.
I guess commercialisation in Australia happened a bit differently. I mean, I just remember reading about the Class A and the Class B type. Yes,
that's right. Yes, and then they had the seal set business and all that crap. And it's quite restrictive in some. Look, we're not as bad as the UK. They were much worse than we were. We had the best of both worlds in some respects. So I'm not really complaining. It could have been worse, but they set back the FM broadcasting. That obviously the owners of the AM stations must have lobbied the government and kept FM off the air for. It could have come in 1948. They were thinking about it. They started the ABC experimental stations in 48. And then the government decreed that FM would only ever be for the national stations, not for commercial stations. And they just relayed, the most boring ABC program of the time, which would have been classical music. And they just put that on the FM, and it languished till it closed down in the 60s. Then they filled the FM band up with TV. And up until 76, it was, the AM lobby was there to keep it down. They didn't want to have the expense of starting a new station. They certainly didn't want competition. And so it's interesting in the just how one power group with the money can have a little word in the ears of the lobby in Canberra. Oh, we don't
yes, that's right.
Stuff, maybe license an experimental station. We don't want to make sure it doesn't go anywhere.
FM, and then you have someone like what's his name? Brian Cabina.
Oh, yes, that's right.
I was reading about him the other day.
Yes, that's right.
I saw him in a call book the other day. Somebody gave me a copy of the 1985 call book.
He was big on 160.
Really?
He was on the coffee break. He was a big man, Mr. BC.
Oh, wow. You don't have any recordings of him, do you?
No, I don't. I think he got... Before I started recording, he got involved in FM and basically never came on the air. He was too busy building cabina-faced MBS. And,
yes.
I remember going to a WIA, lecture, and he was lecturing on building the FM transmitter and stuff. And he was saying how hard it was to do, and they didn't know it was breaking new ground, and they had to build a transmitter. And I thought, well, they've had it in the US for 50 years,
That's right.
A bit weird. Why didn't they just go and buy a transmitter from RCA or something?
Yeah. Oh dear.
He said all the knowledge was lost when they built they built the transmitter for the ABC, and then, it closed down. And all the people who built that have gone, and they had to start from first principles, probably the ARRL handbook or something. And
so yes. Yeah. It makes me wonder how many surplus AM transmitters there were, because of course if all of these stations were going offline, I mean there'd be a flood of AM transmitters going onto the Australian market, because I wouldn't mind getting a big transmitter and modifying it for purpose.
Well, I know someone who's got a lot.
Oh yes, so do I. I've never seen them in real life though.
Right.
Just on video.
Yeah. Look, I think see, a lot of the stations got rid of the big ones because they're very hard. Now the power's expensive. Those big ones Don's got are just too expensive to run, and so they've got. They've got more modern solid state ones that sort of, if a 5 kilowatt transmitter might take, 5-6 kilowatts to run, whereas those big ones, probably only 50% efficient or something. And if they're running 24 hours a day, that's a big cost.
Yeah.
So I think they've got rid of most of those that went to Don, and but some of the stations like to have a standby. They have the main transmitter, modern main and modern standby, and they've kept their old valve thing as a standby in case lightning hits the booth and everything blows up and they can turn on the old rig until they work out what's happening. But generally they've got rhythm because they take up a lot of space too.
Oh, they're huge things, yeah. A lot of the solid state ones, even fairly high power, are just a few racks, I think.
I know, it's incredible, isn't it? Like a bar fridge size. For 5 kilowatt transmitter. How would that be?
Yeah. It'd be great to, I wonder, with your old, it's an NDB.
That's right, yes.
Mitters, I wonder how many of them are still floating around.
Not many, I don't think. There might be a few, because they would have been in every airport. Probably 2 in every airport, a main and a standby. I don't know. Look, there's probably a few in dusty sheds that have been around. But that talk about that thing, I'm looking at it now, 100 watts out of that is just a joke. I mean, they built the thing with 807s, which one person can pick up, does the same thing. And that's right. And that's ancient technology anyhow. This thing was obviously built by a specification, probably cost $100,000. And some ham could have built one with the same thing on an aluminium chassis on their desk. That probably would have done the same thing, but it didn't have all the lights and buttons and relay control and stuff. But just overbuilt a specification. It's probably just the transformers are enormous.
Yeah. Oh, the whole thing is it's just huge.
It is absolutely.
It does look very official.
It does look official. I'm not using it at the moment because it does take a lot. I use the 807 one because it takes half the power of the big one.
Is that the 4 807s?
That's right. And running FM, of course, it takes even less because there's no modulator. But if I'm away remotely, I use the big one because it's all patched into the system with a remote system, whereas the 807 one, I've got to turn it on manually, so it's not quite as convenient. But it doesn't make a noise. I can actually, with the 807 one, I can have the radiator on here, as well as the missions with the big meters. The fuse pops, so I can't do it.
Oh, right.
So that's one advantage. Yeah.
Yes.
So look at the time.
Oh goodness me! I'm surprised I haven't fallen asleep and started snoring yet.
You've had a busy day, haven't you? You've done so much.
Yes, been all over the place, fixing the car, going on missions.
So do car
barbecues. No, I'm just trying to. You see, I really want to drive it to Sydney.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's good enough. I replaced the fuel filter today. At high speeds, it starts making a noise.
It's no good.
Yeah, I think the engine timing is a bit off. I'm hoping that's all it is. Doesn't need a new engine.
It's sort of like, you're thinking of going to Sydney or Darwin or something, and think, but just driving around suburbs, you do those miles in a couple of weeks anyhow.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But of course, it's inconvenience if it pops on the highway.
Yeah, I mean, you're doing 2 weeks of driving effectively in the space of 9 hours or whatever.
Yeah. But that's better for the car, should be.
Oh, it is. It should be. But the thing just sounds pained at high speeds, which is my problem.
What sort of what high speed?
Oh, 80 to 100k.
Right, okay. Yeah, well, it's you don't want to have problems with that.
Yeah, I've just got to figure out a backup plan, because I would like to drive it up there and just have some mobility rather than getting on the train every week.
It's useful. So what's happening up there?
We're having a big drain party.
Oh,
it's
really?
a bit like the annual one that we have in Melbourne, under a certain location in South Yarra.
Yeah.
But this one's up at Sydney at the at a certain set of bunkers.
Oh.
Yeah, and that happens every year. The Sydney branch do their thing. It's been going for about 20 years now, and
Really?
yeah, it's a good excuse to do some subterranean wandering and just have a big bonfire at these bunkers, and it's quite good.
So you'll be away for a couple of weeks?
Yes, I'll be away sometime in October, I think.
Right.
I've already booked the leave in. So,
Good.
yeah, I usually fly up, but I just really want to drive up. I've got a lot of old lab equipment that I've got to sort of palm off to someone up there, and yeah, if I can move it, then I can move about a pair of space in my shed.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, well, look, I suppose, yeah, well, you can just drive up and hopefully it doesn't pop, or keep an ear on it and makes a noise, check the oil or something, and as long as it's not wrecking.
If it does pop, I don't know what to do. Can I call the RACV or something?
Well, if you're in the RACV, you can.
Well, I might just get a membership just for this. This is not with RACV at the moment.
What's, how old is the car?
1991.
Yeah. It's probably worth $1,000.
It is. Yeah, because I just spent about $1,000 getting it running again.
See, the thing is, cars, I know it sounds cruel, but old cars, new cars are so cheap. That's the thing, isn't it? Like,
oh yeah, that's right.
but then again, if you haven't got money, it doesn't. $5,000 a lot of money, isn't it? Yeah. So I don't know. Look, those old cars can keep running for a long time. A lot of it's just a security thing when you get off the highway and you think, oh, what happens if it pops? What am I going to do? I'm stuck here. It's some terrible country town. What am I going to do? Going to cost money to tow it somewhere to the tip. I mean, I know it's a terrible thing. Yes.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried. Well, it could just turn into a wake and fright type scenario.
It could, yes.
It'd be very bad, and you'll be stuck in this outback town shooting kangaroos. Yeah, who knows? Or
the village that, what was that one other silly car that ate, the cars that ate Paris?
Oh, Cars That Ate Paris, yes. I haven't seen that one yet. I've got a copy of it sitting right here.
It's pretty bad, but it's worth seeing for a laugh. Well, I guess the RACV thing, yeah, look, get a membership and at least you get a free tow to somewhere.
Yeah, I'll get it towed back to Melbourne from
well,
Sydney.
Don't know about that. They might tow it to the nearest garage. Yeah.
Yeah, I've just got to figure out if it's doable or not. I mean, it'd be great fun. I wanted to drive the original alignment of the Hume Highway.
Oh, yes.
So that I could take photos of all these little
booths.
Yeah, the bunker boxes, the repeaters, because there are 100 of them out there. And I would like to see what it looked like before it was all bypassed.
Yeah.
Yeah, go through Holbrook again.
Oh, I see the submarine.
Stay at the Buyer Hotel.
Oh, yes, got to stay at the Buyer Hotel. Look at the bar.
If they've still got the Buyer in there.
I hope so. It did last time I was there, which was 10 years ago, but they might still have a Buyer.
Yeah, I hope they do.
Maybe you could give them an Akai instead and take the Buyer. So this is a newer recorder.
It works better. It's got a better frequency response, less rumble. That's all good.
Yeah. Oh well, it'll be interesting. But are you going up with someone or on your own?
I haven't decided that yet. I'm a bit worried about going up on my own because
if it breaks. Well, if you have someone else, at least it's if bad things happen, you can talk about it. Not that you don't feel so isolated and devastated and lonely and vulnerable.
Yeah, that feeling of isolation.
Yes.
I remember, I think, that occasion where I climbed the big tower.
Ah, yes.
And I was wandering around on my own in the paddock trying to find the car for 6 hours. After about the first 2 hours, I definitely started to go.
He's gone. He's starting to go again.
Oh, sorry.
After the 6 hours?
Yes, I started to get a bit freaked out at being on my own. I thought, I can handle being sort of just wandering around on my own for a while, but no, I was starting to get a bit freaked out. I find it amazing how people like you go on these long solo trips, but I don't know. I think I really need to psych myself up to do it and not talk to anyone for X number of hours.
Yeah, look, I don't mind it. It's interesting. It's sort of it gives you insight to yourself a bit, being on your own for a while, I think. Particularly in strange or maybe a bit dodgy situations somewhere down, like in Tasmania or something, in the middle of nowhere, and you're on your own. It is like you can scream and no one's going to hear you. Like, it really is. You've got to make serious decisions that aren't going to impact in a negative way, because there's no way you can get any help. So
yeah.
I think that's interesting. Yeah,
it's that sense of isolation.
Yeah,
it can be quite confronting, I think. It probably helps you, develop as a person in the long run, if you have to deal with situations like that. But, yeah.
I think it does, although I must admit when I get back I'm quite social for a while talking to people. But it's just an interesting type of thing. And also, But I think, those things like, road trip, if something happens to the car and you're on your own, it's just, to bounce something off somebody is just a bit of a comfort, isn't it? Even if they know less than you do, it's some sort of, you don't feel alone, I suppose. That's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it definitely takes it removes an element of anxiety. I mean, again, doing things like doing drains, I find it's not fun to do them on your own, because you walk into this tunnel and all of a sudden all of your senses are heightened. You think, oh, what was that? Was that some water trickling in? But when you're with someone else, you're just walking up this thing and you don't care because there's somebody behind you. And it's interesting how just having someone there, even though I wouldn't describe myself as the most social person, it is interesting. It does have that effect where you tend to relax a bit. I don't know.
Yeah, we are social animals, I suppose.
Yes.
Well, look, we better let you get off to have a rest. Next week. I'm thinking I might go to the Shep Fest.
Yes.
And if I did, would I go Saturday or leave? Or leave in the morning or whatever. I don't know. But look, I haven't made up my mind. I'll let you know if I'm around anyhow. And so that's the situation. And no one else has come up. So that's all to the bad, I suppose, or good. But I think everyone's busy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I was expecting someone to pop up.
Yeah,
quite interesting.
That's right. We've been on talkie. I suppose we haven't just told people how to get in contact. Oh, no, Noel was up for a while.
Noel was there.
I think he might have had connection problems because he dropped off. He wasn't saying much. Yeah, I saw he's there. No, Noel's there.
He's still there.
Yeah, okay, Noel. We'd say a very good evening to Noel, who's been on the line. He hasn't said much. But I think he's probably gone to sleep now. Maybe he's using talkie more of a streaming service than talking service.
That's a possibility.
Or maybe he's in he's got other people around and can't really talk. I don't know. Anyway, we'll find out some stage.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, just very quickly,
Yeah.
I might be going to Shep. Might be getting a lift with Mr. Tim and Mr. Long, possibly. I don't know yet, but
right,
I've
okay.
got to figure out how I'm going there. I've got to go to a football grand final that day, but I might be getting out of that. Who knows?
Right, okay.
Anyway, if I
So
do,
that-
I might see you there.
Okay, well, it'd be good. I've never been to a Shep Fest.
No, neither have I.
Yeah, so it could be good. Apparently there's a lot of good stuff there.
Yeah.
And I did get an email from from Dallas, and he said that he's getting rid of stuff, and I'll get the email up here and I'll read it to you. So I think he wants people to come to buy stuff so he can. He said there's a lot of ABC stuff there. Apparently he's got.
Oh, okay. Okay,
So
that's quite interesting.
Yes. So
Yes.
that's why I thought, I haven't seen Dallas for a while, so that'd be good. Yes. I see what I've done wrong here, yes. I've effed this up totally. Oh, I won't. But that's the thing he said. Anyone's coming, I'm trying to get rid of a lot of stuff. And he's selling it. He had a whole shed full of old ABC stuff, mixers, meters and panels and bits of crap and stuff. Not really all that good, but something might be interesting.
Yes, sounds very interesting.
And it's only 3 hours up there.
Yes.
It's a long drag, really, but still.
Yeah. I might see you there. I've got to figure out how I'm going to get
Yeah.
there, but yeah, it would be quite good.
So you are definitely going, or most likely going?
Most likely.
Okay, well, that's why I might as well go too. Then instead, I won't be talking to you here. I can talk to you there. Just have
Yeah,
a
that's
boring
right.
replay on here, and it'll be good. Yeah.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, sounds very good.
Okay, well, we'll catch up with it sometime, and we'll say evening for now.
Yep, sounds good. Thanks for the missions, and we'll say evening. VK3BEK going clear. Cheers, Dave.
Okay, cheers, Andrew. VK3ASE going clear. We'll have to play our obligatory vintage Japanese music to sign off on. Oh, look, this is my favourite. Yes, it reminds me of Nagasaki, the butterfly of Nagasaki, and we'll have a listen to that. No, I wonder why there's no music. I think that's turned down there. Oh, look, I've got the volume down on the YouTube. Okay, we'll have a listen to this now. Very nice indeed. And no regrets. Coming your way.